Li Mei's Sword of Destiny. Chapter 11-13. In the residence of Princess Chongping, the Scarlet Eye Marquis, Qin Wentian, Qing'er and the rest stood in the manor. They stared at the sky, only to see a beam of light shooting towards the direction of the Emperor Palace. That was the verdict sent by the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom. What intolerable bullying! To actually send the verdict to the Emperor Palace. The countenance of the Scarlet Eye Marquis was ice cold. What kind of trash is Tenlon Hai? How dare he say that he wants the princess of our empire to marry him? This is simply preposterous. The drunkard has an ulterior motive. The Tenlon Heaven Kingdom clearly knows that our empire will never agree to this. They are intentionally targeting us. The beautiful eyes of Princess Chongping flickered with a cold light. I wonder how the Evergreen Kingdom will handle this. The Scarlet Eye Marquis stared in the direction of the Emperor Palace. After the turmoil in the Evergreen Kingdom, their strength was weakened. The Tenlon Heaven Kingdom was truly good at grasping the opportunity. I don't believe that the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom would dare to declare war against our empire. The daughter of Princess Chongping, Ting-er, spoke in an unhappy tone. Who knows? Our Evergreen Kingdom is also not willing to declare war unless we have no other choice. The Scarlet Eye Marquis coldly spoke. At this moment, the nobility residences in the Evergreen Kingdom couldn't remain calm. At this moment, the conflicts between the various nobility residences were all gone. They were now united against a common enemy. They stared in the direction of the Emperor Palace, and many of the nobility residences even walked out, wanting to meet with the Evergreen Emperor. However, there was no news from the Emperor Palace. Nobody knew what the Evergreen Emperor was thinking. Nobody knew that at this moment, in an illusory space within the Evergreen Kingdom's Emperor Palace, Chongqing the Great was currently playing chess with a dignified-looking middle-aged expert. Junior brother Chongqing, if this brat plays, you will die. How do you plan to resolve this? The dignified-looking expert placed a chess piece down. He actually referred to Chongqing the Great as his junior brother. Senior brother, each and every step you take encircling me. I have no choice but to fight to the death. The Chongqing the Great said calmly. He placed his chess piece and destroyed half of his kingdom. However, his opponent suffered a great loss as well. The dignified middle-aged man raised his head to look at Chongqing the Great and said with a smile, Junior brother, you and I are both from the Tiandao Sacred Academy. Why are you so stubborn? There is obviously a better way. Why do you insist on doing this? As he spoke, the middle-aged man waved his hand, and the chessboard returned to its previous position. He took the piece that the Chongqing the Great had placed, and placed it in another position. The placement of the piece was a compromise, and the situation was as vast as the sky and the sea. Senior brother, what do you want? Chongqing the Great asked calmly. I have several descendants with outstanding talent. In the future, they might even be able to inherit my legacy. Junior brother, your beloved daughter, Qing'er, has extraordinary talent. With the guidance of both you and Matriarch Ji, why don't junior brother help her achieve her goal, and allow the two of you to become a couple? That way, this situation would be easily resolved. Qing'er's personality is similar to mine. No one can force her to do things she doesn't want to do. As her father, I naturally wouldn't be willing to do so as well. In any case, I'm sure senior brother has other plans, right? Chongqing the Great calmly replied. Back then, I asked Dao Long to pay a visit. Junior brother, you didn't give me any face at all. That dignified-looking expert continued. So it turned out that he was none other than a peak-level expert from the eastern regions, ZD. In the outside world, only a few people knew that they were from the same sect, and referred to each other as fellow apprentice brothers. Senior brother, you are making things difficult for me. Although I'm not acquainted with that little fellow, he is after all a friend of Qing'er and came to my empire as a guest. If I hand him over to nephew Dao Long, how would others view me? Chongqing the Great calmly spoke. Junior brother is right. ZD smiled. But what about now? ZD stared at the chessboard. Chongqing the Great slowly inclined his head, staring at ZD only to hear ZD calmly speaking. When I do things, I'm never fickle. It was so in the past now, and in the future it will be the same. Since this is the case, junior brother, I'll bid my farewell then. ZD smiled. After that, His body turned illusory as he directly vanished from sight. Nobody knew of the conversation between Chongqing the Great and Ziti. Regardless of the people from the Evergreen Kingdom or the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom, they had no idea that just now, a single decision by Chongqing the Great could affect the entire situation. Outside the royal palace, in the royal capital, more and more experts gathered. In fact, there were even rumors that immortal emperors from the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom had arrived, preparing to welcome Princess Qing'er and Princess Liili back to Sky Mist. For a period of time, the royal palace was in a state of panic, as though a storm was about to erupt. Every day, there would be voices from the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom, asking the Evergreen Kingdom to abide by the ruling of the immortal realms, and to abide by the agreement of the past. But in the royal palace of the Evergreen Kingdom, the voices were saying that the ruling of the immortal realms was nothing more than a joke. Wanting to use the rules of the ancient era to control the matters of the Evergreen Kingdom was simply despicable. Both sides had their own opinions. The people in the royal palace were all speculating that if the Evergreen Kingdom didn't agree, would the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom really start a war? Countless pieces of news flew into the royal capital of the Evergreen Immortal Empire. In fact, there were even rumors saying that the Sky Mist Immortal Empire had already sent out their armies to attack the Evergreen Immortal Empire. Today, the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom gave a deadline. 1 month later, they would bring their men to the royal palace of the Evergreen Kingdom to receive the princess. If the Evergreen Kingdom continued to ignore the ruling of the immortal realms, the various major powers would conduct a true judgment on the Evergreen Kingdom. The atmosphere in the royal palace was extremely stifling. Everyone's nerves were stretched taut. The Tenlon Heaven Kingdom was simply too shameless. Did they really dare to start a war of the immortal realms? Right now, the confidence of the Evergreen Kingdom's nobility was starting to waver. Right now, the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom had already joined forces with the experts of the various powers, and there was a possibility that they would launch an attack on the Evergreen Kingdom. There was only 1 month left. Many people sought an audience with the Evergreen Emperor. However, the Evergreen Emperor refused to see anyone. Nobody knew what he was thinking. Qing'er was under great pressure. She had always been in Princess Chongping's residence. Qin Wentian held onto Qing'er's hand as he spoke. "Don't worry, the Evergreen Emperor will definitely not hand you over." "I know," Qing'er replied. She wasn't worried that her father would hand her over to the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom. It was just that if the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom really launched an attack on the Evergreen Kingdom, the consequences would be extremely terrifying. "Qing'er." At this moment, a voice drifted over from behind the two of them, causing Qin Wentian to start. He actually didn't sense it at all when someone appeared beside him. He abruptly turned and saw an extraordinary silhouette. This person casually stood there, as though he was one with the heavens and earth. Every step he took seemed to be one with the earth. Qing'er also had a look of surprise on her face when she saw the person who came. She glanced at Qin Wentian, who was beside her, only to see her stretching out her hand and lightly holding onto Qin Wentian's hand. This caused a wave of warmth to surge in Qin Wentian's heart. At this moment he naturally knew who this person was. "Junior Qin Wentian pays my respects to the Evergreen Great Emperor." Qin Wentian bowed slightly. The person in front of him should be none other than the supreme existence of the Evergreen Kingdom, Chongqing the Great. Chongqing the Great's countenance didn't fluctuate at all. He walked to the lakeside and stood with his hands clasped behind his back, as though he was quietly admiring the scenery here. Qin Wentian, born in a particle world, in the Sky Harmony city of the Chu country of Granxia. His foster father, Qin Chuan, later became the monarch of Granxia and joined the Battle Sword sect. After that, he befriended the Medicine Sovereign and fought against the hegemon of this particle world, the Royal Sacred Lord. Chongqing the Great stared ahead. There were no ripples on the surface of the lake, but Qin Wentian's heart trembled slightly. The Evergreen Immortal Emperor seemed to be very clear about everything about him. However, he soon calmed his heart. How could the Chongqing the Great not pay attention to his daughter? Very long ago, the Chongqing the Great had already ordered his men to look for Qing'er. At that time Qing'er had always been with him. With regards to everything about him, how could the Chongqing the Great not know everything about him? In the immortal realms, other than Qing'er, most probably only the Chongqing the Great knew the most about him. After you entered the immortal realms, It's unknown when you befriended the Emperor of Qianbian and headed to the Dongshangshan Gate to participate in the immortal banquet. You obtained the top position but rejected the offer to take him as your master. Hence, you were taken away by the Emperor of Qianbian and others assumed that you were the disciple of the Emperor of Qianbian. You obtained the top position in the Immortal Ascension rankings and obtained Ancient Emperor Yi's secret art, God's Hand, defeating Zi Daoyang. In the City of Ancient Emperors, you befriended the Holy Maiden of the Namhuang clan, Namhuang Yunxi. After that, you accepted the invitation of Namhuang Yunxi and headed to the Namhuang clan to aid her in seizing the position of the Holy Maiden. In order to repay you, the Namhuang clan told you that the location of the inheritance of God's Hand is located in the God Hand Mountain Manor of Emperor Yu. You headed there and entered the ancient mountain. After that, you successfully cultivated God's Hand and obtained Ancient Emperor Yi's inheritance. Chongqing the Great slowly spoke, recounting his experiences from when he was born in the Sky Harmony City until now. Other than those secrets that Chongqing the Great didn't know, most probably, Chongqing the Great knew everything about him like the back of his hand. Qin Wentian and Qing stared at the back view of Chongqing the Great. Qing was still tightly holding on to Qin Wentian's hand, as though she was giving strength to Qin Wentian. It was as though she was telling him that no matter what, she would stand together with him. Do you want to marry Qing? Only to see Chongqing the Great slowly turning around, his gaze landing on Qin Wentian. Under that imposing gaze, Qin Wentian felt a stifling pressure boring down on him. It was as though if he were to say anything wrong, the consequences would be extremely dire. I do. Qin Wentian stared at Chongqing the Great as he spat out a word. An even stronger pressure bore down on him, causing his entire body to perspire. When Qing saw this scene, she took a step forward, standing in front of Qin Wentian. Her cold eyes stubbornly stared at Chongqing the Great, as though she was silently resisting. Chongqing the Great stared at that stubborn gaze as he sighed in his heart. He then turned to Qin Wentian, making my daughter do this for you, I really want to kill you. However, as the sound of his voice faded, the pressure from Qin Wentian abruptly vanished. Evidently, Chongqing the Great didn't have any killing intent towards him. Chapter 11:14. Qing stared at Chongqing the Great. Her cold eyes were filled with unhappiness. Chongqing the Great stared at her. Qing, do you know? Even father is jealous of this bastard. Tell me, should I kill him or not? Qing didn't say anything, she silently shook her head. Chongqing the Great spoke, if I kill him, I'm afraid you wouldn't even acknowledge me as your father. As he spoke, his gaze landed on Qin Wentian once more as he continued, you want to marry Qing? Your current strength is far from enough. You are too weak, so weak that even an immortal king could easily crush you to death. You have also seen the situation here, they even dared to oppress the Evergreen Kingdom, let alone a single person. If you want to protect a single person, sometimes you have to stand at the peak of the immortal realms. With a single word from you, no one in the world would dare to disobey. But once you are enraged, everyone in the world would have to prostrate themselves before you. Qin Wentian's heart trembled. He spoke in a low voice, only those ancient emperors who once stood at the peak of the immortal realms would be able to do this. That's right. Even for me there were people I couldn't protect, let alone you. If it wasn't for some people not killing you because they cared about face, you wouldn't have survived until now. Do you understand? Chongqing the Great stared at Qin Wentian. Junior understands. Qin Wentian nodded. You don't understand. Right now they aren't killing you because you pose no threat to them. They don't truly have the heart to kill you. But the moment they see that you might pose a threat to them, they would spare no expense to kill you. This isn't a lie. The Evergreen Immortal Emperor continued. Qin Wentian's heart trembled. That's right, the Dongsheng Heaven Emperor and Zidi didn't personally kill him because they still didn't know that he was the one who killed Dongsheng Ting and Ziyunwu. Similarly, right now, he wasn't a threat to the Dongsheng Heaven Emperor and Zidi. In addition to the existences of Emperor Yu and Emperor Qianbian, after weighing the pros and cons, they decided not to kill him personally. But if one day, the Dongsheng Heaven Emperor discovered that Qin Wentian was a threat to him, he would no longer have any reservations. The experts of the immortal realms would only weigh the pros and cons. The existence of the rules was also because of the existence of the pros and cons. Once the pros and cons were out of balance, it would be time for the rules to be broken. You guys better make your preparations. In the next few years, I will send you all to a place for cultivation. As the sound of Chongqing the Great's voice faded, his silhouette flickered as he directly vanished from his original location. There was no sound at all, it was like he had never appeared before. Send us to a place for cultivation? Qin Wentian mumbled. Upon seeing Qing turning around, he turned his gaze onto Qing with some bewilderment in his eyes. However, Qing beautiful eyes were also filled with bewilderment. Evidently, she didn't know what Chongqing the Great was referring to. Chongqing the Great didn't return to the Emperor Palace. He came to another palace and saw the silver-haired figure. Have you decided? The voice of the silver-haired figure was ethereal as he asked. Ma'am, Chongqing the Great nodded. Since Qing likes it, I have no way to stop her. I can only give her a stroke of good fortune. Let's hope she can grasp it well. That's only natural. He needs an environment to temper himself. It's just that this might be a little risky for you, the silver-haired figure replied. I believe that your judgment won't be wrong. Chongqing the Great continued, in addition, I have some understanding of him. There shouldn't be any mistake. If it wasn't for the fact that I've seen through his fate, I wouldn't have told you about this. Since you have already made your decision, you have to be prepared to deal with the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom. These two matters can be resolved at the same time. If you lose, Chongqing the Great stared at the silver-haired figure and smiled. In that case, let the battle begin. After speaking, he turned and directly left. Outside the Emperor Palace, there was still nobility requesting an audience. However, Chongqing the Great refused to see him. 1 month passed. On this day, the entire imperial city of the Evergreen Kingdom was in a strange atmosphere. Outside the imperial palace of the Evergreen Kingdom, countless people were watching. Today was the appointed date. The Tenlon Heaven Kingdom would unite all the major forces and bring people to the imperial palace of the Evergreen Kingdom to pick up the two people. They wanted Princess Qing and Princess Liuli to marry into the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom. Until today, the Evergreen Kingdom had never acknowledged the so-called ruling of the immortal realm. Outside the imperial palace of the Evergreen Immortal Empire, from afar, a group of figures descended. These were experts from the various major powers, and the group in the lead was incomparably powerful. With every step they took, the heavens and earth seemed to grow heavier. This terrifying might unceasingly extended into the imperial palace of the Evergreen Immortal Empire, causing the guards at the gates of the imperial palace to feel fear in their hearts. The Tenlon Heaven Kingdom actually came to the Evergreen Kingdom Palace, and the great emperor still had no way to deal with it. Boom! Another step was taken. In front of the prince of the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom, Tenlon Jiang, there was a terrifying old man. His cultivation was extremely high. He was most likely in existence in the emperor realm. Every step he took contained the might of the great Tao. He was insufferably arrogant, as though he was stepping on the hearts of everyone. This might continue to rush into the imperial palace. Looking at this situation, if the Chongqing the Great refuses to hand over the two people, the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom might really start a war of the celestial kingdoms. The hearts of the people trembled, not knowing how the Evergreen Kingdom would react. Finally, those experts arrived outside the majestic Evergreen Kingdom Palace. The expert in the lead said in a clear voice, the ambassadors of the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom have come to the Evergreen Kingdom Palace to welcome Princess Qi and Princess Liuli to Tianlan according to the agreement. Bullshit. A thunderous roar rang out from the imperial palace of the Evergreen Immortal Empire. An old man instantly appeared. This old man was like a primordial beast, his aura towering up into the sky as he coldly spoke. Who has acknowledged the adjudication of the immortal realms? Boom boom boom. Nobility experts continued to step out, standing in the air, facing off against the experts of the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom. What a laughable immortal adjudication. Where is the ancient emperor? Where is the envoy of the ancient emperor? Another nobility expert coldly spoke. What qualifications does your Tenlon Heaven Kingdom have to initiate the immortal adjudication? Could it be that your Tenlon Heaven Kingdom has already unified the immortal realms? Impudent! The old man from the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom roared. In an instant, many people groaned in pain. Those with lower cultivation bases even coughed out blood. This roar of his resounded through the heavens and earth, shaking the souls of everyone present. That old man glanced ahead as he coldly spoke. As a peak power of the eastern regions, the Evergreen Kingdom has no choice but to break the agreement. My Tenlon Heaven Kingdom has no choice but to initiate the immortal adjudication. Who would have thought that even at this moment, the Evergreen Kingdom is still so shameless, refusing to acknowledge the agreement? This is simply a disgrace to the immortal realms. That's right. Since the agreement has the ancient imprint of the Evergreen Kingdom, the Evergreen Kingdom will naturally abide by it. An expert from the Supreme Sword School spoke. What a joke. It's just a useless agreement. You want to use it to judge the matters of my empire? In addition, what does this matter have to do with the Supreme Sword School? The rage of the nobility experts from the Evergreen Kingdom towered up into the sky. Their auras coalesced into a terrifying tempest, clashing against the auras of the experts from the other side, transforming into a formless screen of light that expanded unceasingly, enveloping the entire region. I'm only asking if the Evergreen Kingdom will abide by the agreement. Will you hand over the princess or not? That immortal emperor spoke again, his words causing the nobility experts from the Evergreen Kingdom to be even more enraged. Hand over the princess? Did the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom treat the two princesses of the Evergreen Kingdom as sinners? Let alone the princesses who were lofty, the daughters of the Chongqing the Great and the White Emperor. Even the maidens from the nobility manor wouldn't be able to endure such humiliation. Not handing over. A voice drifted over from within the royal palace. The eyes of the nobility experts from the Evergreen Kingdom flashed as they turned their heads to the royal palace. After that, they saw a figure suddenly appearing in the air, exuding a lofty aura, akin to a divinity. We pay our respects to the Evergreen Great Emperor. The nobility experts from the Evergreen Kingdom bowed at the same time. The might of the Chongqing the Great bore down, enveloping the entire space. The diplomatic group from the Sky Mist Kingdom pays our respects to the Chongqing the Great. The experts from the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom all bowed, appearing extremely polite. However, there wasn't much reverence in their eyes. Chongqing the Great, the agreement between our two empires in the past has already been decided by the immortal realms. I hope that your majesty can abide by it and allow our Sky Mist Kingdom to welcome the two princesses. That immortal emperor slowly spoke, showing no fear even in front of the Chongqing the Great. The Chongqing the Great stood in the air staring at him. He didn't say anything, but his gaze was incomparably sharp, as though it could pierce through the other party. After a long time he spoke. Immortal realms? Since you all believe in the immortal realms, fine then. I, Chongqing, hereby announce that I disagree with the immortal realms and will initiate an adjudication battle. His voice rang out in all directions, causing the hearts of countless people to tremble. The Chongqing the Great was initiating an adjudication battle. The eyes of the experts from the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom flashed. They stared at the Chongqing the Great. Since this is the case, which cultivation base does your majesty intend to use for the adjudication battle? Immortal Foundation or Immortal King? His eyes gleamed with sharpness. The adjudication battle was a war of large-scale slaughter. All of them had joined forces, and if the Evergreen Immortal Emperor started the adjudication battle, the number of casualties wouldn't be as simple as just one or two people. The adjudication battle was a battle of life and death. The nobility experts from the Evergreen Kingdom felt their hearts trembling. Seems like His Majesty had long planned to initiate an adjudication battle. Naturally, he had no other choice. His Evergreen Kingdom was located in the eastern regions of the Immortal Realms. It was naturally impossible for them to hand over the two princesses. If they did so, the reputation of the Evergreen Kingdom would be swept to the bottom, and they would become a joke in the Immortal Realms. They would rather fight than to submit. If they wanted to fight, let's start with the adjudication battle. Immortal Foundation. The Chongqing the Great spoke. This was also within the expectations of everyone. Immortal kings were the core strength of a power. Even to an immortal empire, they were extremely important. They couldn't afford to lose them in a large-scale adjudication battle. The adjudication battle requires at least 81 participants. How many participants does the Chongqing the Great have in mind for each level? That expert from the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom continued asking. Since there are no ancient emperors in this era, wouldn't the adjudication battle be child's play? Since the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom initiated the adjudication battle, I shall let the immortal realms witness the arrival of an ancient emperor. The Chongqing the Great slowly spoke. He took a step up into the air and inclined his head, staring at the boundless sky. At this instant, the boundlessly vast land transformed into a boundless starry sky. Boundless astral energy gushed forth from the body of the Chongqing the Great, resembling the great Tao of heaven and earth. What does the Chongqing the Great want to do? The eyes of everyone flashed, feeling somewhat puzzled. The arrival of an ancient emperor? The eyes of the experts from the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom flashed. In the air, the astral energy transformed into the great Tao of heaven and earth, opening up an ancient pathway through the starry sky. At the end of the starry sky ancient path, a lofty palace was vaguely visible. Following this, its projection descended from the sky. Tiandao Sacred Academy. He is summoning the Tiandao Sacred Academy. The hearts of the experts from the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom trembled. The people around him had looks of bewilderment on their faces. Chapter 11:15. The Chongqing the Great stood high up in the air, radiating a brilliant light. At this instant, everyone in the vast royal city inclined their heads and stared at the sky, feeling incomparably shocked. The sky was covered by the starry skies. The entire city was enveloped by the starry skies. As the boundless astral light cascaded downwards, the starry skies seemed to want to devour the entire city, completely enveloping it. Qin Wentian inclined his head and stared at the sky, his heart trembling intensely. Was this the strength of the Chongqing the Great? The Chongqing the Great, his strength could envelop an entire city. This was a royal city of an immortal empire. It was unknown how many times larger compared to the particle world he was from back then. But right now it was completely enveloped by the starry skies. The sun and moon dimmed. Qin Wentian felt as though he wasn't standing in the city, but under the starry skies instead. Not only him, at this moment everyone else had the same feeling. They were currently in the middle of the starry skies, staring at the Chongqing the Great in a daze. That indomitable and supreme existence, his strength caused everyone to feel a sense of awe. At the end of the boundless starry skies, there seemed to be a palace standing there. Within it, light cascaded downwards, flowing towards the entire city, and even into the bodies of everyone here. Has he gone mad? The immortal emperor expert from the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom stared at the Chongqing the Great as he spoke. His eyes were filled with shock. As an immortal emperor expert, only he knew some of the secrets of the Tiandao Sacred Academy. The Chongqing the Great summoned the Tiandao Sacred Academy. If the Tiandao Sacred Academy didn't accept him, he would have to pay an extremely painful price. Could it be that the Chongqing the Great was confident that the Tiandao Sacred Academy would appear in the immortal realms of this generation? One must know that in the legends, the ancient Tiandao Sacred Academy would only appear during the era of ancient emperors. Once the Tiandao Sacred Academy appeared in the immortal realms, it meant that in the future, an era of ancient emperors would appear, an era where the immortal realms would be unified. Previously, the Chongqing the Great said that he wanted the immortal realms to witness the era of an ancient emperor. So it turned out that he wanted to summon the Tiandao Sacred Academy. In the vast royal capital, everyone felt their hearts trembling. The light in the air flowed around the bodies of everyone in the royal palace. After a long time, a beam of intense light cascaded downwards. The palace in the air was actually moving towards the direction of the immortal realms. An intense beam of light shot towards the horizons. After that, this stretch of starry space gradually dissipated as the sunlight cascaded down on everyone. It felt like they had just experienced a dream. They stared at the disappearing palace as an illusion appeared in their minds. That palace was really going to descend into the immortal realms. The Sacred Academy has descended. The era of the ancient emperors has begun. The Chongqing the Great stood in the air as he spoke. His solemn voice thundered through the royal capital, causing the hearts of countless people to tremble. Was the era of the ancient emperors about to begin? In this era, would a character on the level of an ancient emperor appear? Would this be a grand era? Only to see that in the air, the Chongqing the Great slowly descended. His gaze swept over the experts of the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom as he spoke. Since you guys want to initiate the adjudication, This emperor shall add some weight to it. The era of ancient emperors is about to arrive. Only then would the adjudication be more powerful. So Senior Chongqing the Great was actually a disciple of the Sacred Academy during the ancient era. To think that you are actually able to summon the Tiandao Sacred Academy. The immortal emperor of the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom stared at the Chongqing the Great as he spoke. Speaking of which, this emperor can be considered the last batch of disciples of the Sacred Academy. When I was young, the ancient emperors gradually disappeared from the immortal realms. Now the golden era is about to be reborn. The Chongqing the Great slowly spoke. Since you guys initiated the adjudication, and now that the Sacred Academy has descended, let's wait for the location of the Sacred Academy to appear in. As for the adjudication battle, let's see which side has more disciples from the Sacred Academy. How about it? Since the Sacred Academy has descended, let's wait a little longer. As for the adjudication battle, I will discuss it after we return. I will reply to your majesty after that. That immortal emperor spoke. After that, he actually brought his people and departed. Clearly, because the Chongqing the Great summoned the Sacred Academy, all of them were shocked. This was a major matter. They had to report this to the Immortal Empire immediately. Not only for the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom, the Supreme Sword School, the Celestial Palace and the other major powers were all shocked. They could feel that the immortal realms were about to open the curtains of a new era. Today, the actions of the Chongqing the Great in the air seemed to be the start of a new era. Even the matter of suppressing the Evergreen Kingdom might have to be slowed down a little. The envoys from the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom retreated from the Evergreen Kingdom's royal palace just like that. This made everyone faintly feel that because of the actions of the Chongqing the Great earlier, there might be a matter even more important than the war between the two empires. As for what exactly would happen, the vast majority of people had no idea. Qin Wentian and Qing'er stood in the royal palace. They were also at a loss. They didn't know what was happening. However, they could faintly sense that this had something to do with the conversation the Chongqing the Great had with him a month ago. The Chongqing Great wanted to send him and Qing'er away to cultivate. Everyone, go back and prepare to select the most outstanding geniuses of our empire. Regardless of immortal foundation or immortal king, the Chongqing the Great spoke, his words causing the eyes of everyone to flash. Even for those at the nobility level, there were many who didn't understand. But even so, they still nodded their heads. They could all sense an unusual aura. Qin Wentian also returned to Princess Chongping's residence. Several days later, the immortal king who came with him informed Qin Wentian that the Emperor Lord had summoned him, and wanted him to return to the Immortal Champion Gate immediately. Qin Wentian could sense that this might have something to do with the ancient palace in the starry space. Hence, he bid farewell to Qing'er and prepared to make a trip back first. Passing through the teleportation array of the Evergreen Kingdom, Qin Wentian and his group returned to the Cloud Prefecture. Cloud Prefecture City, Immortal Champion Gate. Before Qin Wentian returned to his residence, he was summoned by the Emperor Lord. After arriving at the Emperor Lord's palace, Qin Wentian met with the Emperor Lord. I heard that you have shown brilliantly in the Evergreen Kingdom. In fact, even the nobility of the Evergreen Kingdom didn't object to your relationship with Princess Qing'er anymore? The Emperor Lord smiled as he stared at Qin Wentian. Emperor Lord must be joking. Qin Wentian shook his head and smiled. Emperor Lord, did you summon me here because of the ancient palace that Chongqing the Great summoned? That's the Sacred Academy of the ancient era. It has been many years since it appeared. The Emperor Lord stared at Qin Wentian. Every time the Tiandao Sacred Academy appears, it symbolizes the era of ancient emperors. Since the Chongqing the Great could summon the Tiandao Sacred Academy, it means that he had once entered it for cultivation. Also, the Chongqing the Great seems to believe that in the current immortal realms, an ancient emperor would appear. If not, the Tiandao Sacred Academy wouldn't have appeared. What sort of place is the Tiandao Sacred Academy? Qin Wentian felt some shock in his heart. The appearance of the Tiandao Sacred Academy actually represented the era of ancient emperors. I've never entered it before, so I have no idea as well. The Emperor Lord Qianbian smiled. However, it's rumored to be a holy land for cultivation. Only those with extremely high potential would be able to enter. The threshold is even higher compared to the city of ancient emperors. You and those people around you can all go there to roam the world. Qin Wentian nodded. Also, for this adjudication, if you wish to help the Evergreen Kingdom, just do so. Although the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom initiated the adjudication, I'm afraid that they would really start a war. The Emperor Lord Qianbian laughed. Many thanks, Emperor Lord. Qin Wentian bowed. Go on, Bai Wuya is looking for you. The Emperor Lord Qianbian spoke. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed. After that, he bid farewell and headed to Bai Wuya's palace. Seems like the matter of the Tiandao Sacred Academy stirred the hearts of too many people. Both the Emperor Lord Qianbian and senior brother Bai wanted to summon him. Senior brother. After entering Bai Wuya's courtyard, Qin Wentian transmitted his voiceover. You're back. Bai Wuya had a gentle smile on his face when he saw Qin Wentian. Our harvest this time around isn't small. Even the Tiandao Sacred Academy appeared. Qin Wentian bitterly smiled as he shook his head. He also didn't know that the Chongqing the Great was able to summon the Tiandao Sacred Academy. Wentian, the Tiandao Sacred Academy has already appeared in the central regions of the Immortal Realms. The news is spreading rapidly and very soon, the entire Immortal Realms would know of the news of the Tiandao Sacred Academy. This time around, many disciples of our Heavenly Talisman Realm would be heading there. You naturally have to go as well. However, remember your identity as a disciple of our Heavenly Talisman Realm. Bai Wuya spoke. Qin Wentian nodded. Would the appearance of the Tiandao Sacred Academy really cause a commotion in the Immortal Realms? Go back and prepare well. Don't miss out on this opportunity. Bai Wuya instructed. Qin Wentian nodded and departed. Staring at the back view of Qin Wentian, the white-robe immortal king turned his gaze up into the air. In the era of ancient emperors, the Chongqing the Great summoned the Tiandao Sacred Academy. Was it because of junior apprentice brother Wentian? Bai Wuya silently mused. This time around he would head there as well. There was no one in the Immortal Realms who didn't want to witness the Sacred Academy of the ancient era. This time around the entire Immortal Realms would surely be shaken. Just like what Bai Wuya had thought in the eastern regions in the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom, Tenlon Jiang and the others returned, causing a commotion in the Imperial Palace. They temporarily put aside the matter of the Evergreen Kingdom and focused all their attention on the matter of the Tiandao Sacred Academy. The Supreme Sword School, the Celestial Palace, the Taihua Immortal Dynasty and the other major powers all hurriedly sent their disciples back, making preparations for the Sacred Academy of the ancient era. In the eastern regions there was a commotion. In a certain location in the eastern Sage 13 prefectures, in a beautiful immortal palace, a young man came before a beautiful middle-aged woman and asked, Master summoned me. Taishu, the Tiandao Sacred Academy has appeared. To you this is an opportunity. Prepare to head there. The woman smiled. This woman was none other than the myriad incarnations immortal king. Not only for the eastern regions, many peak powers in the southern, western, northern and central regions also received this news. In the Namhuang clan, the Southern Phoenix matriarch sent out a holy protector maiden to gather all the holy maidens of the Namhuang clan, preparing to head to the Tiandao Sacred Academy. In the Jiang clan, a group of the most outstanding young men stood together. Among them was Jiang Ziyu. In front of them, an old man solemnly spoke, The Sacred Academy has appeared. The era that belongs to all of you is about to arrive. In fact, even the myriad devil islands received the news. Experts from the various devil paths gathered in the myriad devil sovereign sect. The myriad devil sovereign commanded the disciples of his sect to prepare to head to the central regions of the immortal realms, where the Heavenly Tao Sacred Academy was located. This time around, the entire immortal realms were truly shaken. Chapter 11:16. In the boundlessly vast central regions of the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms, there were countless cities and major powers. Because this was the central region, it was the most flourishing region in the entire Immortal Realms. In the central regions of the Immortal Realms, there was a city named Nine Tripod City. The Nine Tripod City was located at the very core of the central regions. To the west, there was a vast and boundless western sea. Occasionally, there would be flood dragons roaming about. In fact, it was rumored that there were even demonic dragons living in the western sea. Not only so, the other three directions of the Nine Tripod City were governed by different powers. This 9-tripod city was considered a city of freedom, incomparably flourishing and boundlessly vast. Countless experts would come and go here every day. The name 9-tripod city came from the 9 cauldrons. In the 9 directions of the city, there were 9 cauldrons guarding it. It was rumored that the 9 cauldrons were divine cauldrons that could suppress the flow of fate in this city, allowing it to flourish for countless years without declining. And now, something happened that verified the rumors. Some time ago, a beam of resplendent astral light descended from the sky, descending upon the immortal realms. After that, the beam of astral light landed on the 9-tripod city of the immortal realms. After that, the entire 9-tripod city was in an uproar. Experts from the various powers gathered here. Occasionally, there would be powerful auras enveloping the entire 9-tripod city. After that, the entire central regions of the immortal realms were shaken. The news of the ancient Tiandao Sacred Academy, appearing in the 9-tripod city, circulated through the entire central regions. For a period of time, wind and clouds gathered. Very swiftly, the originally flourishing 9-tripod city became a cauldron of voices. There were silhouettes of people everywhere. This entire city was suddenly filled with splendor. In addition, the people who came to the 9-tripod city were all immortal kings and emperors. Each of them exuded an extraordinary aura, and there were no mediocre characters here. For those mediocre characters, even if they came, they could only be spectators. After that, the major powers from the eastern regions, western regions, southern regions and northern regions all arrived at the 9-tripod city that appeared out of thin air. They traversed through different regions and were all elites of their respective powers. This time around, they came for the sake of the Sacred Academy. People from the Namhuang clan. The Southern Phoenix matriarch was known as a beauty in the entire southern regions. Truly, her descendants are as common as the clouds. At this moment, many people in the 9-tripod city stared at the figures in the air. Among them, there were many females and many of them were exceptionally beautiful. These were none other than members of the Namhuang clan of the southern regions. The Namhuang clan is one of the 3 ancient clans in the south. They are incomparably powerful and have a deep foundation. If I could marry a saintess of the Namhuang clan, it would be a wonderful thing in the world, someone fantasized. These southern powers have come at the right time. Over there are the people from the ancient Zhang clan. The mysterious ancient Zhang clan has sent quite a few people this time. Not far away from the Namhuang clan, a group of experts with extraordinary auras appeared. These were none other than the disciples of the Zhang clan of the southern regions. The Ying clan's lineup is the largest. Someone laughed, staring in another direction. Although they were very far away, they could still see the imposing auras of the Ying clan. They rode on dragon carriages, their might shaking the 8 directions. The person in the lead was clad in a dragon robe, exuding an unexcelled aura. The experts from the various powers continued on their way. In the central region of the 9-tripod city, there was a sacred academy located there. This sacred academy was shrouded in boundless astral light, and was faintly discernible. It seemed to be an illusory existence, yet one could see it clearly. This ancient sacred academy didn't seem too large, merely spanning 1,000 miles. However, someone spoke in a low voice. It's rumored that the ancient sacred academy is a world of Sumer. It doesn't seem big, but once you enter, you would be in a world of its own. Can we enter directly? Someone asked. Even immortal emperors wouldn't be able to enter, let alone you. This is the Tiandao Sacred Academy. It naturally has its own rules. How can you enter so casually? A voice replied. Evidently, now that the Tiandao Sacred Academy has appeared in the immortal realms, this caused the rumors regarding the ancient Tiandao Sacred Academy to circulate. More and more people heard about it. After several days, the experts from the eastern regions arrived one after another. The Tenlon Heaven Kingdom, the Taihua Immortal Dynasty, the Celestial Palace rode on greater demons, the Dongshengshan Gate's prestige was extraordinary, and the Beast God sect rode on many powerful ancient demonic beasts. For a period of time, not only did experts from the various powers arrive, there were also many greater demons appearing as well, causing a commotion. Today, the experts from the Immortal Chimbian Gate also arrived. Bai Wuya personally led the experts here. There were thousands of them and Qin Wentian was among them. Which power are these people from? Someone in the city asked. clearly not familiar with the immortal Qianbian Gate. No idea. They are the newest rising power in the eastern regions, the people from the immortal Qianbian Gate led by the Emperor Qianbian. They have occupied 6 of the 13 prefectures of the Dongshangshan Gate, and are currently fighting against the Dongshangshan Gate. A knowledgeable person spoke. The distance between the eastern regions and the central regions was extremely far. The central regions were extremely prosperous and there were already many interesting things happening there. Hence, there weren't many people who would pay attention to the movements of the major powers in the eastern regions. Only those peak powers would pay attention to them. For ordinary characters, what they cared about the most was their own cultivation. There are so many experts. The immortal realms are filled with geniuses. Our strength is so pitifully weak. Jun Mengchen spoke in a low voice. After his closed-door seclusion, he had also stepped into the second level of Immortal Foundation. His talent was outstanding, but even so, a second-level Immortal Foundation expert could be considered a hegemon in a remote little city. But in the perspective of the entire Immortal Realms, a second-level Immortal Foundation expert was merely the beginning of the path. We haven't arrived yet. If not, there would be even more experts. Qin Wentian smiled. Bai Wuya's immortal sense spread out, as he led the experts from the immortal Qianbian Gate forward. Finally, they arrived at the Sacred Academy. Over here, experts from the various peak powers were already gathered. The people from the Namhuang clan have arrived as well. Jun Mengchen pointed ahead as he spoke. Qin Wentian glanced over. The holy maidens of the Namhuang clan had arrived. Qin Wentian was acquainted with the person in the lead. It was none other than the Tao protector of the Southern Phoenix matriarch, Nanfeng Jinghong. Let's go and greet them. Bai Wuya spoke to Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian nodded and stepped out. Among the Namhuang clan, Namhuang Yunqi and Nanfeng Shunga also walked out. Nanfeng Shunga was still as beautiful as ever. She smiled. Sir Qin has come as well. Miss Shunga, long time no see. Qin Wentian smiled and nodded. He then turned to Namhuang Yunqi only to hear Namhuang Yunqi speaking. I heard that you caused quite a commotion in the Evergreen Kingdom. You already know about it? Qin Wentian laughed. The Tenlon Heaven Kingdom initiated the adjudication, wanting to marry Qing heir. That's too much. Namhuang Yunqi spoke. I thought you would come together with Princess Qing heir. Why do I feel the smell of jealousy? Jun Mengchen, who was at the side, mumbled, causing Qin Wentian to glare fiercely at him. Upon seeing the awkwardness in Namhuang Yunqi's eyes, Qin Wentian spoke. This fellow just loves to spout nonsense. I'm used to it. Namhuang Yunqi glanced at Jun Mengchen. Her words caused Jun Mengchen's eyes to flicker. Namhuang Yunqi, when did I get used to spouting nonsense? I will go over first. Namhuang Yunqi glanced at the two of them. After that, she and Nanfeng Shunga returned to the Namhuang clan's camp. Many people turned their gazes onto them. Upon seeing Nanfeng Jinghong looking over, Qin Wentian bowed to her. Nanfeng Jinghong also nodded her head lightly, causing the hearts of the Namhuang clan to tremble. At this moment, Qin Wentian felt a cold aura. He turned his eyes over and saw a group of experts. These were the experts of the Ying clan. Yingting was also among them. His eyes were incomparably cold, glaring at Qin Wentian as his killing intent intensified. The humiliation he suffered at the God Hand Mountain Manor, Yingting would never forget it. However, Qin Wentian only casually glanced at him before shifting his gaze away, returning to the immortal Qianbian Gate. He couldn't be bothered with him. In his heart, Yingting couldn't even be considered an opponent. His attitude of disdain caused Yingting's countenance to turn even more malevolent. Yingting, is he the one who humiliated you? Someone beside Yingting asked. Yes, I will definitely kill him. Yingting coldly replied. I will remember him. The person beside Yingting spoke. We don't know when the Tiandao Sacred Academy will open. Let's just wait for news in the vicinity. Bai Wuya spoke. At their level, it didn't matter even if they didn't rest. This area was very vast, they could just casually sit on the ground and cultivate. More and more experts arrived. The major powers of the central regions, the major powers of the western regions, as well as the major powers of the northern regions all arrived. They finally arrived at the Evergreen Kingdom. Qing'er naturally came along as well. Other than these peak-tier sects and immortal kingdoms, there were also many rogue immortal emperors who brought their juniors to the nine-tripot city. Ordinary people didn't dare to casually offend these people. You wouldn't even know which sect the person walking on the streets belonged to. Today in the nine-tripod city, a terrifying devil might suddenly gushed forth, exuding a heaven-shaking aura. In the region of the Sacred Academy, the experts from the various powers inclined their heads only to see a black mass of experts flying through the air. The devil might radiating from them was extremely terrifying, and they were divided into different groups. Each group represented a different power, and with so many groups of people gathered together, the entire space was enveloped by the devil might. The various devil sects of the myriad devil islands fought intensely. Seems like for the sake of coming here, all of them temporarily joined forces. People from the myriad devil islands actually dare to come to our nine-tripod city? An old man from one of the groups spoke. His aura was terrifying as he stared at the sky. What a joke! Isn't our myriad devil islands a major power of the immortal realms? A black-robed expert calmly spoke. This time around, our myriad devil islands didn't send any devil emperors here. Since the Sacred Academy is here in the immortal realms, our myriad devil islands also came here for the sake of the Sacred Academy. We don't wish to cause trouble, so I hope that everyone will behave themselves. You dare to be so arrogant even after coming to the central regions? Another person coldly spoke. The myriad devil sovereign has sent out many devil emperors to infiltrate the various regions of the immortal realms. If you all want to start a war against us, just wait for the devil emperors to slaughter their way into your clans or sections. The black-robed expert waved his hand as he domineeringly spoke, his words causing everyone to snort coldly. Chapter 11:17. The arrival of the myriad devil islands meant that all the major powers in the immortal realms had arrived. The entire nine-tripod city was in an uproar. In the region where the Sacred Academy was located, in that vast stretch of land, there were countless experts from the immortal emperors of the immortal realms. However, even for ordinary immortal emperors, they wouldn't be too conspicuous. Only the strongest peak powers would be able to become the center of attention. Qin Wentian glanced over. He actually couldn't see the end of it. There were simply too many major powers here. Even the city of ancient emperors wouldn't have such an allure. Qin Wentian mumbled. The city of ancient emperors has always been in the immortal realms. The city of ancient emperors has always been in the immortal realms. The peak geniuses of the various major powers would all head there. It's just that the timing of their arrival is different. However, the Sacred Academy is different. The appearance of the Sacred Academy is a stroke of good fortune. The last time it appeared was during the ancient era, and the appearance of the Sacred Academy meant that the era of ancient emperors has begun. How could it not attract the hegemonic powers of the immortal realms? Bai Wuya spoke in a low voice. For the major powers in the immortal realms, which one of them didn't want to become an ancient emperor character, standing at the peak of the immortal realms? Since the Tiandao Sacred Academy had such an omen, how could they not come? All of you scram. At this moment a cold voice rang out. The crowd in the air parted, opening up a path. In the air a group of experts descended. These experts all exuded terrifying demonic chi. And what made people feel strange was that some of the more powerful experts were actually being ridden on by humans. Their bodies were incomparably gigantic, exuding the might of immortal kings. Immortal kings as servants? Qin Wentian's eyes flashed as he stared at the group of tyrannical experts rushing over. Upon seeing the towering demonic chi exuding from them, as well as the demonic light in their eyes, Qin Wentian instantly knew that these were experts from the demonic race. The Sky Rock Greater Demon race of the western regions. The Tianpeng people possess the bloodline of the ancient Sky Rock, and are truly pure-blooded greater demons. They are incomparably tyrannical and powerful. The powerful human, Wu Xiu, can control demonic birds while the Tianpeng people have many human servants. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed. Humans and demons were different races. Demons looked at humans the same way humans looked at demons. Whoever was stronger would dominate the other. The Tianpeng people were the pure-blooded Tianpeng Great Demon clan in the west. They were incomparably arrogant. In their eyes, the Tianpeng people were the highest existence, and the human Wu Xiu was lowly. Get lost. Since the Sacred Academy has appeared, what's there to fight for? At this moment, a charming laughter rang out. In a certain direction, a group of white-robed fairies could be seen floating there. Their beauty was unparalleled, and their countenances were all top-tier. In fact, they were even more outstanding compared to the Southern Phoenix clan, causing people to involuntarily want to get closer to them. People from the Jadestige Immortal Palace of the North. Bai Wuya, who was beside Qin Wentian, spoke in a low voice, informing the various powers so that the juniors of the Immortal Champion Gate could understand a thing or two. The fairies of the Jadestige Immortal Palace really know how to speak. The experts from the White Tiger race stared at the maidens from the Jadestige Immortal Palace and laughed. The Jadestige Immortal Palace is truly a place with many beauties. If there's a chance, come to my race as a guest. Maybe there's a chance to form a human-demon romance. Many experts from the White Tiger race laughed, not concealing the lust in their eyes at all. Vile beasts will always be vile beasts. The experts from the Nine Emperors Immortal State coldly spoke. Bzz. A raging wind gusted over. Everyone inclined their heads and saw a group of experts rushing over from afar. Among them, there were many who were carrying an immortal palanquin. The person in the palanquin must surely have an extremely lofty status, or there wouldn't be such a lineup. These are also experts from the northern powers, the Hokage Sengoku Kingdom. Bai Wuya's knowledge was vast. He could instantly tell which power they were from the moment he saw them. Younger sister Yu Huang is here. A powerful female immortal king from the Jadestige Immortal Palace smiled. After that, the palanquin descended. The curtains of the palanquin fluttered in the wind. Within it, a supreme countenance could be seen. Qin Wentian turned his gaze to the palanquin. The supreme countenance in the palanquin actually felt somewhat familiar. Who is this person? Qin Wentian asked. She should be the princess of the Hokage Sengoku Kingdom, Princess Kitamura. She is a famous beauty in the northern regions and her talent is extremely outstanding. Bai Wuya spoke. After that, the curtains of the palanquin opened as a graceful figure with a perfect figure walked out. That countenance was shockingly beautiful, yet incomparably cold and arrogant, exuding an aura of nobility. It's her? Qin Wentian's eyes flickered as a strange light flickered within. Little Rascal who was on his back also let out whimpering sounds as it stared in that direction. He had actually seen this woman before. Back then in the city of ancient emperors, there was a woman who was like a phantom, able to possess the bodies of others and control them to do battle. She was like a female ghost from the netherworld, beautiful to the point of suffocation. She was none other than this woman before him. Right now this woman's true body appeared. Her demeanor was completely different, cold and noble. She was none other than the lofty Princess Kitamura, an immortal king princess of the Hokage Sengoku Kingdom. Princess Kitamura seemed to have sensed something. Her eyes flashed as she stared in the direction of Qin Wentian. After that, when she saw Little Rascal in Qin Wentian's embrace, her beautiful eyes gleamed with sharpness. Little Rascal shrank its head and spoke in a baby voice. Oh my God, this female ghost also has an inheritance. She will devour this Baobao. Inheritance of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor. Qin Wentian's eyes gleamed with sharpness. Princess Kitamura also had an inheritance of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor. Most probably, the reason why she entered the city of ancient emperors back then was because she wanted to obtain another inheritance. Princess Kitamura shifted her cold and arrogant gaze away. She didn't look in this direction but was staring at the Sacred Academy instead. This woman is so cold. Little Rascal mumbled, feeling some trepidation when he looked at Princess Kitamura. At this moment the roars of dragons could be heard from afar, shaking the heavens and earth. Inclining their heads, they saw numerous true demonic dragons flying over, transforming into human forms and descending to the ground. This caused the eyes of the experts from the central regions to flicker. Even the demonic dragons from the Western Sea Dragon Island had arrived. The various major powers were arranged according to their strength. Only those peak emperor-ranked powers had the qualifications to be at the front. Even for powers like the Immortal Champion Gate, they didn't have the qualifications to be at the front. There were simply too many major powers in the immortal realms. In the central regions, the three great immortal empires, the Nine Emperors Immortal State, the Ashi Sengoku Kingdom, the Senluo Immortal Empire, the Nibelsky Sacred Cult, the Thunder God Hall, and other supreme powers. In the southern regions there were the three ancient races. In the western regions there were the Tianpeng people, the White Tiger people, the Scorpion King race, and other supreme demonic races with pure-blooded bloodlines. There were also experts from the myriad Devil Islands. Behind the various major powers, there were countless spectators. It was unknown how many supreme demon-level geniuses would appear. Just being able to catch a glimpse of the glory of these major powers was already enough to make them feel very satisfied. Many of these major powers had deep conflicts with each other. For example, the matters between the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom and the Evergreen Kingdom have yet to be concluded. But right now the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom actually didn't mention anything about the adjudication battle, as though they wanted to temporarily toss all their grudges aside and make preparations to enter the Sacred Academy. Finally, on this day within the Sacred Academy, beams of light shot down from the sky, transforming into a towering platform. This towering platform was enveloped by boundless astral light, and on top of it, there was a sacrificial altar. Over there, a figure wielding a scepter could be seen. This figure was faintly discernible, like an illusory existence. This wasn't the true body of this figure. Immortal kings outside of the Immortal Emperor realm have a chance to enter the Sacred Academy. For those who have cultivated for over 100,000 years, we won't accept them. Right now, only immortal kings below 100 years of age can ascend to the sacrificial altar. The figure wielding the scepter spoke. As the sound of his voice faded, the immortal kings from the peak powers all stepped out, wanting to enter the ancient Tiandao Sacred Academy. This Tiandao Sacred Academy didn't accept immortal emperors, only immortal kings and immortal foundation characters. Also, they had to undergo a talent test before they would have a chance to enter. Chapter 11:18. After the figure on the platform spoke, immortal kings immediately flew up. A moment later, a mysterious energy enveloped them, causing their bodies to turn translucent. Even their bones and meridians were faintly discernible. Immortal kings have already reached a certain level, and can be said to have already embarked on their own path. It's much easier to see one's talent. As for immortal emperors, their talent is already fixed. The Tiandao Sacred Academy won't accept them. Bai Wuya spoke in a low voice. The gazes of everyone turned to the platform only to see that figure waving the scepter in his hand. A moment later, 100 beams of light shot out from the scepter, landing on the 100 immortal kings. This scepter seemed to be connected to the bones and meridians of the immortal kings. The 100 beams of light flickered, and gradually, the light from many of them dimmed, extinguished the light from the scepter. You can go down yourself. This illusory figure calmly spoke. Many people had looks of disappointment on their faces. These people were all peak-level immortal kings from the various major powers. However, the majority of them had their scepters connected to them dimmed. They could only walk down the platform, feeling somewhat embarrassed. As for the others, enter the Sacred Academy. That shadow continued. The light from the scepter transformed into runes that shone on them. Those immortal kings then walked towards the Sacred Academy, and actually directly entered the Sacred Academy, vanishing from sight. Next batch. That shadow continued speaking. Another 100 immortal kings stepped up the platform. Among them, there were some extremely famous immortal kings, causing the crowd to exclaim in shock. The people of Nine Tripod City were more familiar with the supreme immortal kings of the eastern regions. When they called out their names, the commotion was extremely great. However, Qin Wentian wasn't familiar with them. Even for those supreme immortal kings, he didn't know them at all. Hence, he wasn't too interested in them. He only discovered that even for the most outstanding immortal kings, there weren't many who could enter the Sacred Academy. However, even for immortal kings, there were simply too many of them. Hence, there were still quite a few who managed to enter the Sacred Academy. Finally, Bai Wuya said, "I'm going to give it a try with the Celestial Kings. After I enter the Sacred Academy, you guys take care of yourselves." Qin Wentian's eyes flashed with a hint of a smile. Brother Bai Wuya was really confident. It was as if he had already entered the Sacred Academy. The people around him also smiled. They all seemed to believe in Bai Wuya. Many immortal kings of the immortal Qinbian Gate stepped out, landing on the towering platform. Qin Wentian discovered that the beautiful princess of the Hokage Sengoku Kingdom, Princess Kitamura, had also stepped onto the towering platform. The light from the scepter landed on them. The light from Bai Wuya and Princess Kitamura was incomparably resplendent, showing no signs of dimming. Upon seeing this scene, the people of the immortal Qianbian Gate all laughed. As expected of the white-robe immortal king, whose name shook an entire region. Other than Bai Wuya, there were several other immortal kings from the immortal Qianbian Gate who entered the Tiandao Sacred Academy. Qin Wentian knew that almost all of them were immortal kings from the Heavenly Talisman realm. Naturally, there were also some who didn't manage to enter the Heavenly Talisman realm. The recruitment criteria of the Heavenly Talisman realm was extremely strict. Everyone must have outstanding talent, but not everyone was a peak-level demon-level genius. Back then when Qin Wentian joined the Heavenly Talisman realm, his horizons were lower. Now, his horizons were even higher and his talent was much higher compared to back then when he first joined the Heavenly Talisman realm. Hence, he also understood that not everyone from the Heavenly Talisman realm was a peak-level genius. Time flowed by, more and more people whom Qin Wentian was acquainted with appeared. For example, Zi Qingshuan's senior apprentice sister, Chongqing Longhao, and Zidi's son Zi Daolong appeared as well. Although the age limit was set at 100,000 years, there were still immortal kings appearing unceasingly. One could only say that the number of people attracted to the Tiandao Sacred Academy was simply too many. And these were merely immortal kings. There were even more immortal foundation experts. Finally, on the towering platform, there were no longer any immortal kings appearing. That illusory figure with the scepter in his hand didn't seem to be fatigued at all. He stared at the vast crowd as he spoke. Next, immortal foundation experts. For those above 10,000 years of age, don't come up. For those who don't have a violet gold astral soul, don't come up. For those who haven't established a king-grade immortal foundation, don't come up. As the sound of his voice faded, the countenances of countless people who didn't have outstanding talent turned ashen. They still wanted to try their luck, but the words of that illusory figure directly cut off their hopes. For immortal foundation experts, those above 10,000 years of age don't accept. Those without a violet gold astral soul don't accept. Those below the king-grade immortal foundation don't accept. These three conditions were merely the initial ones. They only needed to have the qualifications to enter the Sacred Academy. Next, there would still be an inspection. If they didn't meet the requirements, they would still be expelled. In addition, there's a limit to the number of immortal foundation experts the Sacred Academy can recruit. No matter how many people you bring, the Sacred Academy will at most only accept 20,000 disciples, including demonic beasts. That illusory figure spoke again, his words causing many people to feel extremely nervous. This time around, it was unknown how many geniuses from the various regions of the immortal realms were here. 20,000 people sounded like a lot, but if one thought about it carefully, they would discover that 20,000 people was a frighteningly small number. For example, there were over 10 peak powers in the immortal realms. And for those powers like the 9 Emperors Immortal State, Tenlon Heaven Kingdom and the Ing Clan, each of them had several thousand experts. Not only that, these experts were all elites from their respective clans and clans. In total, the number of immortal foundation experts they brought would exceed a terrifying number. Other than this, in the boundlessly vast immortal realms, how many nobility experts were there? How many juniors did they have? All the outstanding immortal foundation geniuses from the central regions of the immortal realms had all rushed here. Right now, with the Sacred Academy as the center, the surrounding area was filled with a sea of people. Because there are simply too many of you, I plan to select the most outstanding ones first. The bottom line is that you must have 2 violet gold astral souls. For demonic beasts, you must be able to sense constellations from the 7th heavenly layer and have a tyrannical pure bloodline. In addition, for those below the 6th level of immortal foundation, you must establish a 4th-ranked king-grade immortal foundation. For those above the 6th level, you must establish a 5th-ranked king-grade immortal foundation. For those who meet the requirements, please stand in front of me. That illusory figure wielded a scepter and walked to the side of the platform, staring at the boundless sea of people as he spoke. As the sound of his voice faded, a moment later many people moved forward, arriving at a location not far away from the platform. Those disciples from the peak powers of the immortal realms were the first to move. Many supreme geniuses stepped out with intense confidence. Among them, there were some with outstanding talent. Their arrogance towered up to the clouds as they walked forward with their heads held high. At the same time, many powerful demonic beasts with pure-blooded bloodlines also stepped out, exuding a fearsome aura as they occupied a location. From the myriad devil islands, a group of experts stepped out, exuding terrifying devil might. When they stared at the crowd, their eyes gleamed with a provocative light. After entering the sacred academy, we will capture some people from the myriad devil islands as slaves. A pure-blooded greater demon from the Tiampung people stared at the experts from the myriad devil islands as he spoke. His tone was incomparably arrogant, as though he didn't have anyone in his eyes. Such pure-blooded demonic beasts, it's not bad to capture them as mounts. This is especially so for the Tiampung people. They are natural-born slaves. If it's really too hard to tame them, we can roast their bloodlines. It should be a great nourishment for us. An expert from the myriad devil islands had a blood-red glow in his eyes as devil might gushed forth. All of you shut up. If you want to compete, it won't be too late for you to enter the sacred academy. A cold voice rang out. It was a young expert from the 9 Emperors' immortal state. He exuded the aura of an emperor, unexcelled in the world, like the leader of the human race, Wu Xiao. Although he was still young, his aura was extremely imposing. Who do you think you are? How dare you speak to me like this? How could the experts from the Tiampung people give up? The shadow on the platform didn't stop them. The spectators from afar were all watching with interest. As expected of the demon-level characters at the peak, they were already so angry even before they entered the sacred academy. These people were all peak-level geniuses from the various regions, and all of them were confident that they weren't weaker than others. They were all characters with unrivaled talent. How could they be willing to submit to others? If all of them entered the sacred academy together, it would surely be a battle between dragons and tigers, incomparably fascinating. Several people from the Namhuang clan stepped out. Qing'er glanced in the direction of the immortal Qianbian gate before she walked out. Let's go over, Qin Wentian said. In an instant, a group of mighty experts walked out from the direction of the immortal Qianbian gate. Seeing this scene, many people had a strange look in their eyes. This was strange. Which force were these people from? Why did so many young geniuses come out? The shadow on the starry sky platform had made it very clear that the requirements for the first batch of people were very high. Not ordinary geniuses were qualified to be selected. Even super forces like the 9 Emperors' immortal state, the Ashi Sengoku Kingdom, and the Tiampung people only had a few people come out. However, this force actually sent out 50 or 60 people. This number was simply shocking. The people from the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom frowned when they saw this scene. Their Tenlon Heaven Kingdom also had a group of outstanding geniuses. But wasn't the immortal Qianbian gate a little too arrogant? What qualifications did they have to send out so many people? This was simply courting humiliation for themselves. There were naturally many people from the immortal Qianbian gate. Qin Wentian brought 36 experts from the Battle Saint tribe with him. In addition to Jun Mengchen, Purgatory and Little Rascal, there were a total of 40 people. In addition, there were also some disciples from the Heavenly Talisman realm mixed in with the immortal Qianbian gate. Hence, the number of people they sent out was extremely vast, even surpassing the number of people from the 9 Emperors' immortal state, the Ashi Sengoku Kingdom, the Ying clan and the Namhuang clan. Where did these people come from? They actually don't know the immensity of the heavens and earth. Someone mocked. The experts from the 9 Emperors' immortal state stared at them as they frowned. When they saw Qin Wentian and the others walking over, they spoke. Did you guys hear the conditions clearly? Don't think that this is the territory of your sect and you can do whatever you want. We naturally understand. Jun Mengchen retorted. How arrogant. The experts from the myriad devil islands had a cold smile on their faces. That human Wu Xiao of the immortal realms truly doesn't know his own limits. Where are you guys from? The beautiful maidens from the Jadestige Immortal Palace smiled. Eastern regions, Immortal Qianbian Gate. Qin Wentian replied. Immortal Qianbian Gate? I've never heard of it before. An expert from a peak power from the central region spoke. A newly risen power, it's not worth a mention. Someone spoke. Qin Wentian glanced at those who spoke as he spoke. Very soon, you guys will know of the immortal Qinbian Gate. Chapter 11:19. This time around, several thousand Immortal Foundation experts stepped out. These people were all extremely confident in themselves. They stood at the very front and many of them were from the various major powers. All of you scram. The experts from the Tianpeng people stood in the middle of the crowd as they berated the experts in the surroundings. All of them were incomparably arrogant, not allowing others to get close to them. Fine, all of you can come up here in groups of 100. Human Wu Xiao, release your astral souls and immortal foundations. Demon, release your bloodline power and immortal foundations. On the towering platform, the shadow with the scepter in his hand spoke again. After that, the experts from the Tianpeng people instantly transformed into bolts of lightning, landing on the towering platform. Humph! The experts from the 9 Emperors' immortal state coldly snorted. Their silhouettes flickered as they flew towards the towering platform. The experts from the myriad Devil Islands also moved at the same time, rushing towards the towering platform. There were already over 100 of them. They exchanged glances with each other, their gazes gleaming with sharpness as they increased their speed. Finally, some of them stepped onto the towering platform, and when the number of people reached 100, the others halted their steps. According to the words of the expert on the towering platform, everyone released their astral souls and immortal foundations. Under the astral light, their bodies shimmered with a glass-like light, and one could faintly see their meridians. At this instant, the towering platform was incomparably dazzling. All sorts of astral souls shone resplendently, simply shocking everyone. Almost all the stellar martial cultivators had their first astral soul at the 4th or 5th heavenly layer. This was simply too terrifying. In addition, all of them had astral souls that originated from the 7th heavenly layer. Their immortal foundations were all at the king grade, and for those at the upper 3 heavenly layers, their immortal foundations were all at the 5th tier. At the pinnacle, they were just a step away from establishing a perfect saint-grade immortal foundation. These demonic beasts unleashed their pure bloodlines. In an instant, their demonic chi towered up into the sky, terrifying to the extreme. Their entire bodies radiated demonic might as the shadow of demonic beasts manifested in the air. Their demon foundations were all extremely tyrannical as well. How dazzling, as expected of those who stand at the peak. The 9 Emperors Dynasty Myriad Devil Islands Tianpeng people, all of them have outstanding talent, simply incomparable. That supreme genius from the 9 Emperors Dynasty has 6 astral souls that originated from the 5th heavenly layer, 5th heavenly layer, 6th heavenly layer, 7th heavenly layer, and his immortal foundation is a 5th ranked king grade. It's simply too shocking. It can be said to be perfect and flawless. The hearts of everyone trembled. Yeah, such a combination of astral souls and immortal foundation, truly unparalleled under the heavens. Many people sighed. Alright, all of you stand to the side first. There will be another 100 people. The shadow didn't choose anyone right away. It seemed that he wanted to observe everyone's condition before making a decision. The next batch of experts stepped onto the towering platform. There were experts from the Ashi Sengoku Kingdom, White Tiger people and Myriad Devil Islands. All of them were incomparably dazzling. After that, more and more experts stepped onto the towering platform. Each batch was extremely dazzling, and there was no lack of supreme geniuses like the one from the 9 Emperors Dynasty. There were also some who didn't release all their astral souls, and only released their final few astral souls, as well as their immortal foundations. Just from this alone, everyone could feel how tyrannical they were. But now all these supreme geniuses were gathered in one place. More and more experts stepped onto the platform, causing many to feel a little numb. If it wasn't for the fact that these supreme geniuses of the immortal realms were all gathered here, they wouldn't even dare to imagine that there would be such terrifying characters. Just their astral souls and immortal foundations were already shocking enough, let alone the fact that they have yet to display their combat prowess. Once they fought, their combat prowess would be even more dazzling. The people from the Immortal Qinbian Gate are going up. The Immortal Qinbian Gate is a newly risen power, yet they actually dared to be so arrogant, sending out so many people. Aren't they afraid of embarrassing themselves? Many major powers stared at the people from the Immortal Qinbian Gate. This was especially so for the Ying clan Dongshangshan Gate and the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom. Their countenances were all cold, truly seeking their own humiliation. An expert from the Dongshangshan Gate coldly snorted. The people from the Immortal Qinbian Gate, Namhuang clan, and Evergreen Kingdom all stepped onto the towering platform together. There were also some people from GD's sect who followed Qing'er. Other than them, Hua Taishu also appeared. After they parted ways in the City of Ancient Emperors, Qin Wentian and the others whose names shook the entire City of Ancient Emperors once again gathered here. Once they had a monopoly on the rankings in the City of Ancient Emperors. This time around, they were going to enter the Tiandao Sacred Academy together. There are quite a few beauties here. An expert from the White Tiger people stared at the beauties beside Qin Wentian as an evil light flashed in his eyes. Qing'er, Namhuang Yunxi, Nanfeng Shunga and the others were all beauties of the human race. As for Purgatory, she was a demonic beast beauty, causing some of the demons to drool. Let's hope she isn't an embroidered pillow. An expert from the Sanluo Immortal Empire calmly spoke. After that, Qin Wentian and the others released their astral souls. Beams of resplendent light illuminated the area. Incomparably resplendent. These high-grade astral souls instantly caused many to be dazzled. Without exception, all of them had a pair of violet gold astral souls. What was even more terrifying was that among the beams of light, everyone could see a beam of black golden light that stood out from the masses. This beam of light was the only thing in the world that could only be possessed by a single person. There had never been such a thing before. Black golden light. Astral soul from the 8th heavenly layer. The hearts of everyone trembled as their gazes turned to the young man. This young man was actually none other than Qin Wentian. His astral soul combination 5th heavenly layer, 5th heavenly layer, 6th heavenly layer, 7th heavenly layer, 8th heavenly layer. Such a perfect combination made him a unique existence, surpassing all the geniuses before him, including those from the 9 Emperors Immortal State and Ashi Sengoku Kingdom. Not only for him, the people around him also didn't have any astral souls that didn't meet the requirements. At this moment, many people shut their mouths. What perfect astral souls! I wonder what their immortal foundations are like. The hearts of the crowd trembled. A good astral soul doesn't necessarily mean that the grade of their immortal foundations is high. Let's continue watching. Everyone mused silently. After that, everyone released their immortal foundations. In an instant, numerous immortal foundations appeared before the eyes of everyone. Also, on the towering platforms in the starry space, their immortal foundations gleamed with a unique luster. It was very easy to tell the degree of perfection and grade of their immortal foundations. What kind of immortal foundation is that? Countless gazes landed on the space above Qin Wentian. Up there was a human-shaped immortal foundation that seemed to contain a myriad of transformations. Within it, there were also attribute energies from his astral souls, as well as destructive and suppressive might that could be faintly discerned. The luster of this immortal foundation is perfect. Under the illumination of the astral light, there aren't any cracks at all. In addition, this luster caused many of the immortal foundations around him to lose their luster. This must be the legendary Saint-grade immortal foundation. Someone spoke in a low voice. At this instant, silence filled the entire space. After insta-killing everyone in the Astral River realm, the legendary Saint-grade immortal foundation appeared. He was truly unrivaled, no one could compare to him. Even when the geniuses of the immortal realms gathered here, he was still unrivaled. At the very least, his immortal foundation and astral souls were the same. A legendary immortal foundation. Those supreme geniuses stared at Qin Wentian as their eyes gleamed with sharpness. What kind of energy did this man cultivate? His immortal foundation was actually so perfect. Could it be that he had some sort of supremely powerful secret art? Look at the person beside him. Many people turned their gazes over, staring at Jun Mengchen. His immortal foundation was also flawless and resplendent. It was actually a saint-grade immortal foundation as well. How is this possible? Many people felt as though they were unexcelled in the world. If these two were high-level immortal foundation experts, they wouldn't be so shocked. Both of them were at the second level of immortal foundation. How could their immortal foundations be perfect? They had just established their immortal foundations not long ago, and they had already reached perfection? One must know that there were 9 levels of immortal foundation, each level of the heavens. This process would allow immortal foundation experts to reach perfection. However, these 2 people were only at the 2nd level of immortal foundation, and their immortal foundations were already at the legendary saint grade. There's still one more. Everyone then glanced at Nam Huang Yunxi. After she released her immortal foundation, it was also perfect. Nam Huang Yunxi was originally a 5th-tier king-grade immortal foundation. After she entered the ancestral lands, she stepped into the 2nd level of immortal foundation, and her immortal foundation became perfect. There's still this Bao Bao. Little Rascal also released his own demonic foundation. There were differences in the cultivation of demons and humans, but there were no differences. Demons were born with the ability to sense astral souls of the same race, and directly absorb astral energy from them. The stronger their perception, the higher the astral souls they could form a connection with. After stepping into the demon immortal realm, they could also establish their own demonic foundations. This group of people, they must have cultivated some secret arts. Everyone couldn't help but to speculate when they saw that Little Rascal's immortal foundation was also perfect. If not, how could there be such a coincidence that the most perfect immortal foundation would appear on the same group of people? But no matter what, this group of people truly shocked everyone. The mocking laughter earlier was filled with mockery. Who said that the immortal Qianbian Gate couldn't produce so many geniuses? They used the most direct method to refute the doubts of others. Just like what Qin Wentian said, very soon, everyone would know of the existence of the immortal Qianbian Gate. At this moment, the major powers of the immortal realms all remembered that in the eastern regions, there was a power named the immortal Qianbian Gate. For this generation, the geniuses from the immortal Qianbian Gate weren't any weaker compared to those peak powers from the central regions. In fact, their fame even surpassed them. This was especially so for Qin Wentian. Regardless of his astral souls or immortal foundation, they were both unparalleled. No one could be compared to him. When Qin Wentian and his group walked to the side, many people were staring at them. The demonic eyes of those demonic beasts gleamed with a demonic light. As for those experts from the myriad devil islands, battle intent could be seen in their eyes as well, as though they were very interested. Among these people from the myriad devil islands, there were quite a number of them wearing devil masks, looking incomparably malevolent. Qin Wentian even guessed that Xie might be among them. It's really quiet now. A bunch of self-righteous fellows. Jun Mingchen coldly spoke. Earlier he was being pointed at by so many people. He had been suppressing his anger with nowhere to vent it. If it wasn't for the fact that Qin Wentian wasn't in a hurry, he would have long rushed up to the towering platform. These people all thought that their immortal Qianbian Gate couldn't be the same as them, doubting them. Now it's time for them to shut up. Their astral souls are passable, and their immortal foundation isn't bad. However, this merely means that their foundation is more stable. It doesn't represent everything. An expert from the 9 Emperors' immortal state calmly spoke, his tone as arrogant as ever. This caused Jun Mingchen to snort coldly. When you are strong, you can look down on others. But when you are weak, you still have excuses. Admirable. Chapter 11:20. The people from the 9 Emperors' immortal state snorted coldly but didn't reply. These thousands of people were all demon-level geniuses at the peak of immortal foundation. None of them were mediocre. Who among them wasn't proud and arrogant? It was just that there were some who expressed their pride in their words, but there were even more geniuses who chose to remain silent. Among them, there were no lack of outstanding geniuses who could shake an entire region. They merely watched calmly as everything happened. Finally, the examination of the thousands of experts ended. The shadow on the towering platform glanced at them and spoke, "You guys can be considered to have temporarily passed the examination. Step into the passageway leading to the Sacred Academy first." As the sound of his voice faded, he waved the scepter in his hand. A moment later, a strange runic light enveloped these experts, causing the hearts of countless to tremble. Although these people were all very outstanding, they wouldn't have dared to step out. But even so, they didn't expect that all of them would pass the examination. Seems like the shadow on the towering platform had his own plans. He wanted those who were more confident to step out first, so that he wouldn't have a hard time selecting them later on. With a wave of his hand, A space appeared before them. He then spoke, "Those who wish to enter the Sacred Academy, please step into this space and release your astral souls, immortal foundations and bloodlines. Those who are selected by me will enter the Sacred Academy. For those who are not selected, please step back and give up your positions. We can begin now." As the sound of his voice faded, numerous figures flashed out, appearing before them. For a period of time, many experts all released their astral souls, immortal foundations and bloodlines, simply dazzling the eyes of those who saw it. When Qin Wentian saw this scene, he exchanged mutual glances with the people around him. Before this, he had already selected them meticulously, but now that there were so many of them, he only needed a single glance to select them. Most probably, this could only be considered a rough selection. In fact, there might even be some who missed out. After all, there were simply too many people. However, he had allowed them to take the initiative to step out earlier because he wanted to give those with outstanding talent a chance. "Let's go in first, they naturally know what to do." Qin Wentian, Qing'er Namhuang Yunxi, and the others stood together. They each took a glance at the people from the immortal Qinbian Gate, the Evergreen Kingdom, and the Namhuang clan, and then walked toward the entrance of the Sacred Academy. As for the others, it was up to them. One figure after another walked out, heading towards the Sacred Academy. Their bodies were all shrouded in a mysterious light as they stepped through the entrance of the Sacred Academy. Qin Wentian watched as the figures entered. At this moment he had a strange feeling. It was as though this step was like stepping through a gate to the void. He took a step forward, and in an instant the scenery around him changed. Qin Wentian looked at everything before him, and his heart was in turmoil. It's rumored that this hidden space of the Tiandao Sacred Academy is a Sumeru world. "Seems like it's true," Jun Mengchen said. A gust of wind blew past, blowing on their bodies, causing their clothes to flutter. At this moment thousands of figures appeared on the shore. In front of them was a vast and boundless sea. There seemed to be a mysterious aura in this sea, as though it contained immortal might. There was no end to this sea, as though it was boundless. At this moment no one knew where the sea led to. Splashing sounds rang out. On the surface of the sea in front of them, starlight flashed. A shadow condensed, standing in the air above the sea, staring at the crowd. This sea is known as the Immortal Sea, and also known as the Dao Sea. All of you came to the Tiandao Sacred Academy to seek immortality and seek the Dao. You have to cross the Immortal Sea. If you cannot cross it, you will forever be floating in the Immortal Sea. That figure slowly spoke. The Immortal Sea is boundless. If you wish to cross it, you will have to display your innate techniques. Everyone, please wait for the people behind you. We will cross the Immortal Sea together. Everyone nodded as they stared ahead. The words of the other party were filled with profoundness that was hard to comprehend. They had no idea what he meant. Since the Immortal Sea was boundless, how could they cross it? Behind them more and more experts appeared. These were all Immortal Foundation experts who entered the Immortal Sea later on. As time flowed by, the number of people gradually increased. In fact, there were already over 20,000 people. There are still more people entering? Everyone had bewildered looks on their faces as they stared at the Immortal Sea. After that, they suddenly realized something. Seems like when that immortal said that the Tiandao Sacred Academy would accept 20,000 disciples, there were actually more than 20,000 people who entered. If they wanted to enter the Sacred Academy, they still had to cross the Immortal Sea. At this moment, they still couldn't be considered to have entered the Sacred Academy. This Immortal Sea was also a test. The number of people who entered gradually decreased. The Immortal Foundation experts stood by the shore with solemn expressions as they stared into the distance. They weren't ordinary geniuses and had strong willpower. Hence, they weren't impatient. Time flowed by, the number of people increased, but the number of people who entered also gradually decreased. Until a very long time, no one stepped into the Immortal Sea. On the surface of the Immortal Sea, that immortal shadow repeated what he said earlier. After that, he added, "The Immortal Sea is boundless. Everyone has to display their innate techniques when crossing the Immortal Sea. Don't travel together. The paths of crossing the Immortal Sea are different. You will all be sent to different locations of the Sacred Academy. The first 20,000 who cross the Immortal Sea can enter the Sacred Academy. After that, the others will be sent out. If there aren't 20,000 people within 100 years, Those who didn't succeed will be sent out as well. That immortal shadow continued. After that, he pinched his fingers as a lone boat appeared on the surface of the immortal sea. With a step, he landed on the boat and vanished from sight. Traversing the immortal sea, seeking the Tao. Everyone stared at the immortal sea ahead. The immortal sea was also known as the Tao Sea. How would one enter the other shore? Immortal energy gushed forth from the experts as they transformed into small boats. After that, they stepped onto the boats and flew forward. Beside Qin Wentian, Qing'er turned her gaze over, staring at Qin Wentian. Seeking the Tao in the immortal sea. Each county has their own innate techniques and everyone's circumstances are different. From what that immortal shadow said, it seems that because of the different paths of crossing the immortal sea, we will be sent to different locations of the Sacred Academy. Maybe the locations might be the most suitable for oneself. Qing'er, we might be separated during the journey. If that's the case, let's meet again in the Sacred Academy. Qin Wentian stared at Qing'er as he spoke in a gentle voice. Qing'er nodded. Heading to the Sacred Academy was to raise her strength. For matters of the heart, she would temporarily put them aside. Before this, the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom was pressuring the Evergreen Kingdom. This matter caused them to be extremely tempted. Now that the legendary Tiandao Sacred Academy had appeared, they naturally had to seize this opportunity. However, we might be able to stay together forever. Qin Wentian smiled. After that, immortal light radiated from him as a small boat appeared before them. He stepped onto the boat and stared at the experts before him as he spoke. Let's move out. Everyone respectively used their immortal energy to form small boats as they stepped onto the boat, heading towards the immortal sea. At this moment on the immortal sea, tens of thousands of boats set off, heading towards the boundlessly vast immortal sea. Several days later, everyone entered the boundlessly vast immortal sea. To their shock, they discovered that this immortal sea had its own set of laws. A law energy akin to the great Tao enveloped each and every one of them. It was incomparably profound and difficult to comprehend. They only felt that this immortal sea was extremely troublesome. Another few months passed. Everyone had long entered the depths of the immortal sea. The vast army had also split up. Only those who were familiar with each other stayed together. All of them were searching for their own paths, heading towards the other shore of the immortal sea. The immortal sea is boundless. There's no end to it. How do we cross it? Nanfeng Yunqi mumbled in a low voice. She steered the boat and sped through the air. Beside her, Qin Wentian and the others were all there. However, they felt as though they had sunk into a boundless immortal sea. They couldn't see the other shore at all. This immortal sea truly had no end. It wasn't just empty words. Our speed is already very fast, but we still can't see the end. I'm afraid we won't be able to reach the other shore if we continue like this. This immortal sea is extremely profound. We have to carefully comprehend the words of that person earlier. Jun Mengchen also sensed this. Not only him, everyone else felt this as well. However, the simplest method was to continue forward all the way to the other shore. They had to give it a try no matter what. But after trying, they discovered that this path wasn't easy to traverse. There should really be no end to the immortal sea. Maybe we need to comprehend it ourselves before we can exit. Nanfeng Shanga stood not far away from Namhuang Yunxi. Her personality was humble, and was even more intelligent compared to the other holy maidens of Namhuang Yunxi. Namhuang Yunxi treated her like a sister and trusted her very much. I think so too. Qin Wentian nodded, agreeing with Nanfeng Shanga's words. He then continued, maybe we should properly comprehend the laws of this immortal sea. But we have no clue at all. How should we comprehend it? Jun Mengchen scratched his head. How troublesome. I wonder who came up with this rotten idea. Why don't we just fight to our heart's content? Mengchen, you have to temper your personality. I feel that this immortal sea is extremely suitable for you. You have to guard against arrogance and rashness. Don't fail miserably. If you are ranked below 20,000, you wouldn't even have the qualifications to enter the Sacred Academy. Qin Wentian reminded. Those who can enter the immortal sea are all extraordinary characters. Even if their talent isn't comparable to you guys, they wouldn't be mediocre. They are the most outstanding geniuses in the immortal realms. You have to be careful. Nanfeng Shunga spoke in a light voice. Qin Wentian saw Qing'er in contemplation. He couldn't help but to ask, "Qing'er, what are you thinking about?" "I'm thinking that ever since we entered the immortal sea, we have always been together, taking care of each other and advancing together. We didn't have any time to calm our hearts." Qing'er's melodious voice rang out. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed. He shook his head and smiled. Qing'er is right. Maybe, to comprehend the Tao in the immortal sea, one must have no distractions in their heart. Maybe it's really time for us to separate. What if we are all wrong? What if the true shore of the immortal sea is to continue moving forward? Jun Mingchen asked. Whatever you think in your heart, just do it. If you fail, you have to start all over again. Qin Wentian spoke to Jun Mingchen, his words causing everyone to be in contemplation. Qin Wentian's words weren't without logic. Let us meet again in the Sacred Academy. Qin Wentian smiled. The boat he was on soared into the distance. His eyes turned to Qing'er only to see Qing'er nodding her head lightly to him before flying in another direction as well. As expected of lovers, Jun Mingchen mumbled. Bao Bao is leaving as well. Even little rascal was on his own boat. He controlled the boat and flew towards a certain direction. His snow-white body leaped to the front of the boat and stretched out his head, appearing extremely adorable. He allowed the boat to float freely, drifting with the wind. After that, Nam Huang Yunxi, Nanfeng Shunga and the others also departed. Sis Qingxian, Hua Taishu, you guys. Before the sound of Jun Mingchen's voice faded, he already saw Zi Qingxian and Hua Taishu also departing alone. Hua Taishu's white robes fluttered in the wind. Zi Qingxian didn't even turn her head back, leaving him alone. He involuntarily inclined his head and stared at the sky. After that, a moment later, he directly collapsed onto the boat as he let out a long sigh. Seems like he would have to spend a lonely time in the immortal sea. This damnable Sacred Academy, where was it exactly? Chapter 11:21. Half a year later, a lone boat floated on the immortal sea. Qin Wentian laid on the boat, staring at the blue sky and white clouds with a dazed look in his eyes. There was no way to exit this immortal sea. In fact, it was extremely rare for him to encounter other lone boats. From this, one could very well imagine how vast this immortal sea was. Could it be that I really have to cultivate in the immortal sea? Qin Wentian mused silently. Since he couldn't reach the other shore, what if he ignored everything else and continued to cultivate? Would he be able to enter the Sacred Academy? Before this, the shadow who was floating above the immortal sea once said that there were different methods to cross the sea. But the different locations of the Sacred Academy were different. Evidently, there was more than one method to reach the Sacred Academy. But even so, he couldn't find a single method. This involuntarily caused Qin Wentian to doubt himself. Could it be that his comprehension abilities were insufficient, and he had no way to find a method to cross the sea and enter the Sacred Academy? At this moment, Qin Wentian suddenly sensed something. He sensed a strange aura and stood up from the boat. After that, he saw a lone boat floating over from afar. A young man with long black hair could be seen on the boat. His demon-like face exuded a faint tyrannical aura. The eyes of this man were extremely deep, and there seemed to be a mysterious suction force within them, able to draw the gazes of those who stared at him into it. "Sir, you are so carefree." That person walked over from afar with his hands clasped behind his back. His cultivation base was at the 4th level of Immortal Foundation, and exuded an unfathomable aura as he spoke to Qin Wentian. "If I can't cross the sea, I can only waste my time. Sir, do you know how to cross the immortal sea?" Qin Wentian calmly asked. "I have no idea, but I'm currently on a path, searching for a method to cross the Tao Sea and enter the other shore. It's just that this path isn't easy and I still have to seek your help." That person continued moving forward. The lone boat gradually got closer to Qin Wentian. "Oh, how can I help?" Qin Wentian smiled. "My path of crossing the sea to seek immortality requires killing to pave the way. As such, I need your distinguished self's life to pave the way for me. Perhaps I might be able to cross the immortal sea." That person continued, his voice calm without the slightest fluctuation. "This path is too evil. I don't even know if I can cross the immortal sea. Even if I could, I wouldn't be willing. Qin Wentian responded calmly. There was no anger in their conversation, as if life and death were just a matter of words. Since Qin Wentian joined the Sacred Academy, he was naturally prepared in his heart. These geniuses from the various immortal realms were all considered heavens chosen in their respective areas. But at this moment, Qin Wentian's palm blasted out. That perfect saint-grade immortal foundation of his transformed into a greater demon Zhenhou, exuding a fearsome suppression and destruction attribute energy. Qin Wentian's palm imprint was like the hand of a divinity. When he attacked, numerous Zhenhou could be seen slaughtering everything. The devil might of his opponent towered up into the sky as they frenziedly clashed against each other. In an instant, the waves on the sea transformed into a whirlpool. Yet another heaven-shaking palm imprint blasted out. This strike contained the destructive might of an ancient halberd. With a muffled sound, the body of his opponent was pierced through. His opponent's eyes gleamed with a terrifying light as he formed a mystical incantation seal, transforming into a blood-colored bolt of lightning that instantly fled. In the depths of the immortal sea, a beam of blood-colored light vanished, disappearing in the blink of an eye. The waves on the sea were still as violent as ever. Qin Wentian stood on the floating boat and stared at the fleeing silhouette. Traces of blood could be seen on the surface of the waves, but the blood soon dissipated and the immortal sea regained its calm, as though nothing had happened at all. Qin Wentian stared at the immortal sea as he mused. This person killed countless lives in order to find a way to cross the sea. Although Qin Wentian despised such a method, he was still thinking about what method he should use to cross the immortal sea. Before I find an answer, let's continue cultivating on the immortal sea. Qin Wentian smiled bitterly. Before this, he thought that if he chose to cultivate on the immortal sea, he might miss out on the chance to enter the Sacred Academy. But now he discovered that he was too stubborn. The reason why he entered the Sacred Academy was originally for the sake of cultivation. Now that there was no way to cross the immortal sea, why should he seek trouble for himself? Why not just let nature take its course? As he thought of this, he sat down cross-legged on the boat and closed his eyes in cultivation, allowing the boat to drift freely on the immortal sea, moving with the wind. He had no distractions in his heart. In the blink of an eye, another year passed. Qin Wentian had already been drifting on the immortal sea for close to 2 years. He cultivated on the boat, comprehending immortal law energy, causing the might of his immortal foundation to grow stronger and stronger. He could faintly sense that the laws of this immortal sea seemed to be able to harmonize with the energy he cultivated. It was as though the laws of this immortal sea could encompass everything in the world, and he could sense any immortal law energy from it. Today, Qin Wentian opened his eyes. He stood on the boat and stared into the horizons. During this 1 year, he had no idea if there was anyone passing by him. There's someone over there. Qin Wentian saw a golden light flashing in the distance, boundlessly resplendent, radiating out in all directions. Qin Wentian controlled the small boat and moved forward, sailing through the waves, and came to a place not far away from the golden light as he stared in that direction. It was a monk who cultivated in the Buddhist path. He was a disciple of a peak Buddhist power in the immortal realms. His body was lying on the sea, and the boundless golden light radiating from him was none other than his body. As boundless golden light radiated from him, Qin Wentian discovered that the immortal foundation energy in his body was gradually dissipating. His physical body was also growing weaker and weaker. However, the golden light radiating from him was incomparably resplendent, merging into the immortal sea and rising up into the air. Gradually, Qin Wentian discovered that a small boat could be seen floating on the surface of the sea. That was the body of the monk, but it had already lost all signs of life. Sacrificing one's body to seek the Tao, using one's body as a boat, Qin Wentian's heart trembled. It was rumored that there were people from the Buddhist sect who believed that the path to immortality was too slow and too difficult. Life was like the sea of bitterness, filled with suffering and suffering. Life was the sea of bitterness. The body was the boat and the soul was the one controlling the boat, leading to the other shore. This monk was cultivating in the immortal sea. He actually wanted to use this to seek the Tao and reach the other shore? Just as Qin Wentian was observing at this moment, a golden light suddenly filled the sky. On the small boat, a shadow appeared. This was none other than the body of the monk, illusory and ethereal yet radiating boundless golden light. The monk's body floated up from the immortal sea and merged with the shadow. Ahead, an ethereal shadow appeared. It was actually a sacred academy. Qin Wentian's heart trembled. He only saw the monk taking a step forward and vanishing from the immortal sea. After that, the shadow of the sacred academy gradually faded away, vanishing from sight once more. Qin Wentian stared at the calm sea ahead, as well as the monk who disappeared. His eyes were filled with a sense of unease. Just like what he had guessed, the other shore of the immortal sea wasn't the other shore. It wasn't something that could be reached just by traversing through space. One had to carve out their own path to immortality. The path of others belonged to others. Only by carving out one's own path would one be able to leave the immortal sea and enter the sacred academy. Earlier, that monk used his body as a boat, using his soul to traverse the suffering and finally reach the other shore, stepping into the sacred academy. This was his path. To be able to comprehend this path within 2 years, this monk must be an extraordinary character. Naturally, there might also be a possibility that this was in line with the path he cultivated in. He treated the immortal sea as the sea of bitterness. Qin Wentian recalled the words of that monk before he entered the immortal sea. The immortal sea was boundless, and if one wished to cross it, they had to display their own innate techniques. If there weren't 20,000 people who could cross the immortal sea within 100 years and enter the sacred academy, those who failed would all be sent out of the immortal sea. Before this, Qin Wentian didn't think much of it. But now, he felt that if the people who entered the immortal sea this time around weren't outstanding enough, there might not even be 20,000 people who could cross the immortal sea within 100 years. The monk used his body as a boat to traverse the immortal sea. But where is my path? Qin Wentian silently asked himself as he continued to drift on the sea. Not only him, those heaven chosen from the immortal realms who entered the immortal sea were all searching for their own paths. There was also Qing'er, Namhuang Yunqi, Hua Taishu, Junmengchen and the others. All of them were floating on their boats, searching for a path to cross the immortal sea. Chapter 11:22. The immortal sea was boundless. Today, it has already been 3 years since Qin Wentian and the others entered the immortal sea. Qin Wentian quietly lay on the boat. His heart was filled with no distractions, as though he had forgotten where he was. This immortal sea was like the path of cultivation. There was no end to it. There would always be stronger cultivation bases waiting for him. The immortal sea was also like the body of a human. Nobody knew the limits of the body. It was able to absorb immortal energy unceasingly, growing stronger and stronger. And for those who cultivated in the immortal sea, it was like the immortal foundation of stellar martial cultivators. It was unknown when they would be able to absorb enough immortal law energy and reach the other shore. Qin Wentian laid there for a very long time. He seemed to have nothing to do. He would occasionally open his eyes and stare at the blue sky as a smile appeared on his face. Such a carefree and desireless life was truly comfortable and incomparably relaxed. And at this moment a strange feeling suddenly appeared. Before him, a mysterious sacred academy appeared in the immortal sea. At this moment, Qin Wentian had an intense feeling that as long as he willed it, he would be able to enter the sacred academy. The him now seemed to have already reached the other shore. This sacred academy seems to be somewhat different from the ones before. Qin Wentian thought back to the time when he saw the monk crossing the sea of bitterness in the sacred academy. The sacred academy before him seemed even more peaceful and tranquil, as though it was extremely ordinary. If one has no desires, there would be no path of cultivation. If one doesn't cultivate, how would one reach the other shore? This sacred academy, what sort of cultivation Tao would it have? Qin Wentian smiled and shook his head. After that, he closed his eyes and continued to lie there. Gradually, that shadow grew darker and darker before it finally vanished from Qin Wentian's sight. Qin Wentian actually gave up on the chance to reach the other shore, to enter the sacred academy. The reason why he did this was to verify something in his heart. Now Qin Wentian had verified it. The sacred academy had indeed appeared in front of him. It was extremely difficult to achieve a state of complete desirelessness. Qin Wentian wholeheartedly pursued the path of cultivation. How could he give up? It could be said that it would be extremely difficult for anyone in the immortal sea to achieve such a state. However, Qin Wentian managed to break through his own heart, and did it. Why did you give up? A voice appeared in Qin Wentian's mind, like the voice of the heavenly path. Qin Wentian's heart trembled slightly, but he soon calmed down. Looking at the vast immortal sea, he slowly spoke, I want to enter the sacred academy through cultivation, and not by doing nothing to enter the sacred academy. No one responded. The voice seemed to come from nothingness and return to nothingness as if it had never existed. Qin Wentian was still in the immortal sea. He laid there with a smile on his face. The him right now was filled with vigor, and the dejected state he was in earlier was completely swept away. This was because he knew what he should do. Closing his eyes, Qin Wentian's entire body shone with immortal light, as the energy of law energy started to circulate on his body. His body seemed to have been stimulated as a dazzling immortal light radiated from him. Bang! The small boat shattered and Qin Wentian's body directly fell onto the surface of the immortal sea. He didn't even try to control his body, and simply let nature take its course. However, Qin Wentian's body didn't sink into the sea and was still floating there. Resplendent immortal law energy directly enveloped Qin Wentian's body. Qin Wentian's body was like a cocoon as it flowed along with the immortal sea. However, Qin Wentian didn't seem to care about that. The him right now only cared about his own cultivation. Time flowed by. Qin Wentian had a strange feeling that as long as he willed it, the sacred academy would appear before him. However, it was as though he didn't know anything about it. He continued floating along with the immortal sea as the law energy grew stronger bit by bit. His body was tempered unceasingly as his immortal foundation grew stronger. Today, Qin Wentian's entire body radiated boundless light. His immortal foundation was still perfect and flawless, but it grew even more resplendent and powerful. From the immortal sea, boundless energy gushed frenziedly into Qin Wentian's body, merging into his immortal foundation. The energy of the immortal sea seemed to contain everything, and could be used by Qin Wentian in his cultivation. At this moment, with Qin Wentian as the center, his entire person was enveloped by boundless light. The immortal sea churned madly as boundless immortal energy flowed into his body, into his immortal foundation, becoming nourishment for him to use. In the immortal foundation realm, the further one advanced, the more difficult it would be. The amount of energy required to break through to the next level was the stacking of all the previous levels. Hence, the amount of time required to break through to the next level would also increase exponentially. Hence, the path of immortal foundation was extremely difficult. If one had an immortal foundation within 100 years, they might need 200 years to reach the second level, 400 years to reach the third level, 800 years to reach the fourth level, and 1,600 years to reach the fifth level. Until the end, over 20,000 years before one could reach the ninth level of immortal foundation. Only those transcendent characters who established their immortal foundation, when they first established their immortal foundation, would be able to walk an extraordinary path. When the immortal sea transformed into an immortal tempest for Qin Wentian to use, it was like he was transforming from a cocoon into a butterfly. Time continued as usual. Within the immortal sea, time seemed insignificant. Today, in a certain location on the immortal sea, a boundless beam of immortal light shot out. Over there, a figure could be seen floating up from the immortal sea. This figure was none other than Qin Wentian. Before him, the shadow of the sacred academy appeared, seemingly beckoning Qin Wentian to enter. As long as he was willing, he would be able to enter the sacred academy. However, Qin Wentian only smiled when he saw the sacred academy. He didn't do anything until the sacred academy vanished completely. Why don't you enter? Another voice rang out in Qin Wentian's mind. Standing on the boundlessly vast immortal sea, Qin Wentian seemed extremely tiny and insignificant. It was like a single wave would be able to engulf him. However, at this moment, Qin Wentian stood straight with a smile on his face as he calmly stared ahead. I want to ask a question. Qin Wentian spoke, as though he was speaking to the void. After a moment of silence, there was no reply. But after that, another voice rang out, "What question?" Upon hearing this reply, the smile on Qin Wentian's face grew even wider. At this moment he was even more certain of his thoughts. If there's a Tao in the immortal sea, Would this immortal sea still be a sea? Qin Wentian asked. Another period of silence. All of a sudden, a terrifying storm manifested on the immortal sea. Loud rumbling sounds rang out as a gigantic wave swept towards Qin Wentian. This gigantic wave condensed into a demonic form, resembling a terrifying gigantic beast. With a loud roar, it lunged towards Qin Wentian, wanting to devour him. That terrifying gigantic beast seemed as though it could devour everything, easily engulfing Qin Wentian within. But at this moment, Qin Wentian simply stood there, not moving at all. At the moment of imminent peril, the shadow of the gigantic beast stopped. This gigantic beast was like a malevolent-looking fish. Its gigantic body was right in front of Qin Wentian as it stared coldly at Qin Wentian. If there's a Tao in the immortal sea, why isn't it a sea? It's formed from the Tao. Where are the laws of the world? Where would there be a sea? Qin Wentian stared at the gigantic beast before him. His expression was as calm as ever, as though he had already seen through everything. He tried many different methods to cross the immortal sea, and all of them succeeded. Many speculations appeared in his heart. Finally, Qin Wentian guessed that this immortal sea was actually formed from the Tao, formed from the laws of the world. The immortal sea wasn't a sea, it was formed from the laws of the world. You are very intelligent. That greater demon spoke, as though he acknowledged Qin Wentian's words. Since Qin Wentian has already comprehended it, he naturally wouldn't deny it. It's just that you used two methods and wasted a lot of time. Why didn't you enter the Sacred Academy on your first attempt? That greater demon continued. Since entering the Sacred Academy is your purpose, why are you wasting time? Such powerful laws can be used for cultivation. Why would I miss it? After entering the Sacred Academy, I might not have such an opportunity again. I used a short 4 years to step into the third level of Immortal Foundation. Why would I waste time? Qin Wentian smiled as he replied. Your comprehension abilities are very strong. That greater demon spoke again. Since this is the case, why didn't you enter the Sacred Academy when it appeared again? Do you intend to continue using the immortal sea to cultivate? Qin Wentian shook his head. This time around, he was able to break through to the third level of Immortal Foundation. Although he borrowed the power of the immortal sea to cultivate, it was also related to his previous cultivation. Many years ago, he had already broken through to the second level of Immortal Foundation and was stuck at this level for quite some time. Right now, he had just broken through to the third level. It was impossible for him to forcefully raise his cultivation base to the fourth level of Immortal Foundation. I'm already in the Sacred Academy. Where else do I need to go? Qin Wentian spoke. As the sound of his voice faded, the eyes of the greater demon narrowed as he stared at Qin Wentian. Swish, a sound rang out. The greater demon transformed back into the immortal sea and vanished from sight. The immortal sea turned calm once more. Qin Wentian stood on the surface of the immortal sea. Gradually, he discovered that the scene before him was changing. The boundlessly vast immortal sea was gradually transforming into land. He lowered his head. It was no longer the sea beneath his feet. It was the ground instead. In just an instant, everything vanished. Qin Wentian stood on the ground. It was like the immortal sea had never existed before. The immortal sea was boundless because there was no immortal sea in the first place. Who? Qin Wentian drew in a deep breath as a smile flickered in his eyes. In truth, he wasn't as confident as he appeared to be. This in itself was a bold conjecture. Since Qin Wentian felt that the immortal sea had a Tao, and was formed from the laws of the immortal sea, there was a possibility that it was something that didn't exist. Now, his conjecture was verified. His bold conjecture seemed to be correct. On the ground, only he stood there. There was no one else. Up ahead, the surroundings were incomparably quiet, like a desolate land. There were no signs of human habitation here. It was like an extremely ancient secret realm. Where is this? Qin Wentian frowned. The Sacred Academy? Why wasn't there a single person here? This place seemed like an extremely ancient castle with many secrets hidden within. Weren't you very confident earlier? That voice rang out in Qin Wentian's mind once more. He glanced at his surroundings as he cursed in his heart. Could this person be intentionally messing with him? However, since he was already standing on the ground, Qin Wentian still believed that his conjecture was correct. That person once said that everyone had their own innate techniques on the path of crossing the immortal sea. Since their paths were different, they would be sent to different places. His path of crossing the immortal sea was to seek the truth, to see through the void. The immortal sea wasn't a sea, hence, he might have chosen a path alone. Chapter 11:23. Qin Wentian glanced at his surroundings. His silhouette flickered, wanting to see what exactly was in this desolate sacred academy. This space was very vast and silent. There was an ancient castle within. Qin Wentian stepped into it. Numerous gigantic stones seemed to be cast into natural stone pillars, standing erect within the ancient castle. They were over 100 zhang tall, causing Qin Wentian to feel an ancient yet glorious aura. Although this place was desolate, it gave off a sense of mysteriousness. Upon entering, the desolate ancient castle seemed to have a flight of stairs that led upwards, all the way to the sky. Each and every ancient stone pillar seemed to be flaunting its majesty. Qin Wentian actually felt a sense of piety in this ancient castle. This feeling was extremely mystical, involuntarily arising in his heart. Stepping into the ancient castle, he entered a great hall in the center. The walls of the hall were all made up of stone, ancient and ancient, resembling a dilapidated monastery. Step by step, Qin Wentian walked forward. Over there, a gigantic ancient character was inscribed "Truth." That word was very large and seemed to contain a mystical aura. Qin Wentian could faintly sense a ray of light landing on his body, but when he took a closer look, there was nothing at all. That mystical feeling instantly vanished, and when he looked at the word again, it was still as ordinary as ever. Qin Wentian looked left and right, there was nothing at all. In fact, there were even holes in the ancient castle that allowed light to seep in. It was extremely bright and gave him a feeling of enlightenment. However, he wasn't able to grasp that feeling. Truth, why is there only a single word? Qin Wentian mumbled. In this ancient castle there was nothing but this word. His silhouette flashed and he walked out of the ancient castle, heading towards another direction. However, he discovered that this space was truly desolate and extremely vast. Even after riding on his immortal weapon for several days, he still couldn't get out. He could only occasionally see a few trees. Even in this desolate land, there were still towering ancient trees that wouldn't wither. Could it be that I was tricked? Qin Wentian cursed in his heart. Why did he feel like he had walked out of the immortal sea and arrived on land? This land was no different from the immortal sea. Could it be that he had to repeat what he had done in the immortal ocean? If that was the case, what was the point of doing all of this? No, something must be wrong. I've entered the Tiandao Sacred Academy, and I've seen through all falsehood, and I've seen through the rules. That's why I'm here. The Tiandao Sacred Academy won't let me fall into the same situation again. Qin Wentian silently mused. The place where the Chongqing the Great wanted to send him to was a place that could shake the hearts of the major powers of the immortal realms, a place where even immortal kings would rush in frenziedly. The Tiandao Sacred Academy that would start a new era most probably wouldn't be so boring. Since he was here, then there must be a reason for him to be here. Truth, seeking the truth. Could it be because I've unraveled the mystery of the immortal sea, and was sent here to seek the truth? Qin Wentian spoke in a low voice. He inclined his head and stared into the void as he asked, "Is this your intention?" There was no reply from the void. Qin Wentian cursed in his heart. Was the fellow who spoke to him earlier truly here? After a moment, Qin Wentian gave up. He didn't intend to ask the other party any further. He thought back to the strange feeling he had back in the ancient castle. He could faintly sense the power of the Buddha sect. The power of the Buddha sect had always been mysterious and powerful, hard to fathom. It would often use Zen mysteries for people to comprehend. Could it be that the Zen mysteries of the Buddha sect were hidden here? Qin Wentian thought back to the method he used to cross the immortal sea. It was because he had seen through the mysteries of the immortal sea. Transformed from the Tao, where are the laws? The immortal sea isn't a sea. The immortal sea is boundless. There's no such thing as an immortal sea. I'm already in the Sacred Academy. Where else do I need to go? The words he spoke earlier, as well as the mysteries of the immortal sea, he felt a faint sense of Zen mysteries. Could this be the reason why he came here? The more Qin Wentian thought about it, the more he felt the possibility was very high. In the end he smiled bitterly. Seems like he had to unravel the truth of the word truth before he could see the truth. Let's go. Qin Wentian controlled his immortal-ranked weapon and moved like a bolt of lightning, speeding through the desolate space, returning to the location where the ancient castle was located. This time around he slowly entered the ancient castle, trying to sense every strand of aura here, trying to comprehend this feeling. Finally, he came to the central hall of the ancient castle and once again stood before the word truth. Truth. Just what kind of secret is hidden in the word truth? Qin Wentian silently mused. He closed his eyes and released his immortal sense, wanting to search for that mysterious feeling. Occasionally, Qin Wentian would faintly sense the intent of the word. However, it was extremely illusory and difficult for him to grasp it. Right now, Qin Wentian has already cultivated for many years. He knew that cultivation wasn't something that could be accomplished in a day. As his cultivation base rose, his state of heart grew more and more extraordinary. He was able to control his temper and cultivate the path he felt was right. Even if he discovered that he was wrong, he would still be able to start all over again. Qin Wentian sat there in the ancient castle, staring at the word truth every day. After a year, his cultivation base didn't improve at all, but he was still immersed in it. If it was before, Qin Wentian most probably wouldn't be able to do this. Today, Qin Wentian opened his eyes. After meditating for a year, he stared at the word truth. In the ancient records, it said that supreme experts of the Buddhist sect can meditate for thousands or even tens of thousands of years, comprehending the mysteries of Zen. Today, I've meditated for an entire year comprehending this word. Although I'm not able to comprehend it completely, I've managed to gain some insights. Qin Wentian spoke in a low voice. His state of heart was calm, there was no trace of impatience at all. Seeking truth, being able to see through all illusions and fabrications. Should I reflect on myself and see through myself? Qin Wentian murmured. He actually closed his eyes once more, wanting to see through himself. Many thoughts flashed through Qin Wentian's mind. Why was he so resolute in his cultivation? It was because those who were mediocre wouldn't be able to control their own fate. In fact, they wouldn't even be able to protect the people around them. Back then in the Sky Harmony City, the Qin residents had experienced many trials and tribulations. In the end, they depended on their strength to resolve everything. Between him and Mo Qingcheng, they were separated by life and death. Similarly, only with sufficient strength could they be together. In the immortal realms, the Dongsheng Heaven Emperor relied on his strength to forcefully start a war between immortal kings in a particle world. How many innocent people died? The Tenlon Heaven Kingdom forced their way into the Evergreen Kingdom, wanting their princess to marry them. Ever since he was born, he didn't know where his parents were. He didn't know if they were dead or alive. He only knew that he had a blood feud. All of these were the motivation for his cultivation. In this world, the weak were lowly, their lives were like weeds. There was no need to doubt his heart to grow stronger. No one would be able to shake it. This was the truth. He thought of his family, his friends, and his own personality. He also thought of his bloodline, his cultivation abilities, his astral souls, and his immortal foundation. Today, he started from the different types of energy he was proficient in, carefully comprehending himself and the path of cultivation he had taken. In this desolate space, no one seemed to care about the flow of time. 3 years have passed since Qin Wentian entered this place from the immortal sea. However, Qin Wentian didn't seem to feel anything. Today he sat cross-legged under an ancient tree in the desolate space. His entire body radiated resplendent runic light as he fused his bloodline as well as his fiend god body refinement technique. His physique was like that of a fiend god, indestructible and indestructible. Right now, Qin Wentian's physique was formed after he barged into the ancient emperor realm in the city of ancient emperors. After that, he stepped into the immortal foundation realm and established a perfect physique. After that, he entered the ancient mountain in the God Hand mountain manner and comprehended God's hand. In front of that golden body, his physique underwent a qualitative transformation again and again. Up until now, this physique was already extremely perfect. This was especially so when he activated God's hand. It was like a divine body that was formed from the fusion of all sorts of energy from Qin Wentian. In fact, Qin Wentian was confident that his physique wasn't any weaker compared to his perfect saint-grade immortal foundation. He was unparalleled in the immortal realms. Another day, Qin Wentian released his immortal foundation in a certain desolate space. His immortal foundation was perfect, without any flaws. He could freely transform it and infuse it with astral souls, allowing him to unleash tyrannical might. He could transform his perfect immortal foundation into a picture of a great rock, allowing him to be possessed by a great rock, allowing him to unleash the attacks of the great rock in the treasured cauldron. Day after day, although Qin Wentian's cultivation base didn't increase, his strength was growing stronger bit by bit. His self-reflection also caused him to grow stronger, allowing his various abilities to be perfected. Qin Wentian would often return to the ancient palace in the center of the ancient castle and sit there alone, facing the word truth. He would close his eyes and cultivate diligently, comprehending a little bit of it every day. Occasionally, Qin Wentian would also miss Qing'er and Qingcheng, and wonder if his friends were still doing well. Qin Wentian didn't know when he would be able to see them again. But to him now, he could only do his best to search for them, walking on this path of seeking truth. In this desolate place, one didn't know the meaning of spring and autumn. Even Qin Wentian gradually forgot the passage of time. Today, the word truth engraved there faintly radiated a strand of immortal light. That simple yet incomparably mysterious word actually grew increasingly resplendent, exuding an extraordinary aura. Qin Wentian's eyes were still closed, with no distractions in his heart. It was as though he didn't know what was happening. But as the light grew brighter and brighter, on the originally ordinary walls, the glow of runic inscriptions could be faintly seen flickering, bit by bit, until the light grew boundless. All the walls shone with a boundless golden light, containing boundless runes, as though they were about to float out. What was even more resplendent was that the word truth seemed to truly float out from the walls. It was like the words of laws, like the words of the great Tao. Beams of runic light directly imprinted onto Qin Wentian's body, gushing into his sea of consciousness. A wondrous sound abruptly rang out, akin to the sound of the great Tao. Space transformed into a three-dimensional form as boundless runes and runes intersected. At this instant, this simple and unadorned ancient palace was currently radiating an incomparable Buddhic light. As the sounds of the great Tao flowed into Qin Wentian's sea of consciousness, countless ancient runes appeared, floating there incomparably profound. At this moment, Qin Wentian understood that through these years, the path he took had always been correct. Today, he finally completed a qualitative transformation. Is this the supreme power of the Buddhist path? Qin Wentian's heart trembled. At this moment, he actually had a feeling that the complexity of this mysterious power was actually comparable to God's hand. Chapter 11:24. The word truth contained a supreme innate ability. The more Qin Wentian cultivated it, the more profound it became. He could only close his eyes and meditate. Within the ancient castle, the sounds of Sanskrit rang out unceasingly, resembling the music of the great Tao. Boundless Buddhic light enveloped his body as countless runes flowed into him. The world was vast, and Qin Wentian felt that he was insignificant and weak. However, he was still able to meditate and comprehend the truth. The word truth was a supreme art that contained boundless might. It could allow one to discover one's true self and comprehend one's true self. From there, one would be able to comprehend the true body, true arts, and the power of truth. This caused Qin Wentian to be deeply shocked. This cultivation naturally wasn't something that could be done in a day. Qin Wentian had no idea how many springs and autumns he had spent here. He also had no idea where the others were. The immortal sea was difficult to cross. However, as long as one had extraordinary comprehension abilities, they would naturally be able to do so. Qing'er, Junmengchen, Hua Taishu and the others naturally wouldn't have any problems. For years passed in the immortal sea. 6 years passed in the ancient castle. Unknowingly, 10 years had passed since Qin Wentian stepped into this space. Qin Wentian truly felt that as his cultivation base rose, it wouldn't be strange even if he closed his eyes and cultivated for hundreds or thousands of years. Today, a Dharma body that looked exactly the same as Qin Wentian appeared behind him. It shone with boundless resplendence. This was his invincible and indestructible physique that contained boundless might. Now, it had actually been refined and transformed into an independent true body, the body of truth. This was the power of truth. That Dharma body was shrouded in Buddhic light with many ancient runes revolving around it. At the same time, the light enveloped the true body. Right now, Qin Wentian's physique alone was already strong enough to break through realms and fight. Another year passed. Qin Wentian could faintly speak the incantation and condense true arts. It was just that the might of his incantations wasn't strong enough. After that, the eye between Qin Wentian's eyebrows opened again. It was like the eye of disillusionment. His original eyes slowly opened as well, filled with sharpness. With a glance he saw 4 doors open amidst the boundless runic light. They seemed to be void doors that could lead to other places. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed. He has already been in this ancient castle for 8 years, and it has been close to 12 years since he stepped into the immortal sea. His cultivation base has risen by 1 level, stepping into the 3rd level of immortal foundation. In this ancient castle he also obtained the art of truth from the Buddhist path, causing his cultivation base to improve as well. And now he once again saw the entrance to the sacred academy. In this place there seemed to be several sacred academies, and from here one could lead to different sacred academies. All of this seemed to prove what the sacred shadow had said before he entered the immortal sea. Different methods of crossing the sea would lead to different locations. He used the art of truth to cross the sea, and this was why he was sent here. Qin Wentian didn't stop. Even after cultivating for so many years, it was impossible for him to completely comprehend this ultimate art. Only by continuously cultivating would he be able to improve. The word truth engraved here was like the art of truth. One had to first comprehend it before they could enter the gate, and after that they would have to cultivate unceasingly before they could improve. This was also like God's hand. Although he was cultivating God's hand even now, it was impossible for him to say that he had completely comprehended it. He had only comprehended the surface of it. After cultivating for so many years, even if I continue to cultivate it, it would be hard for me to have a greater breakthrough. I should go to the other places to take a look. Qin Wentian mused. After that he stood up. His terrifying eyes swept over the 4 gates as his silhouette flashed. Qin Wentian didn't choose carefully. Since he cultivated the art of the Buddhist path, he would just leave it to fate. After stepping through the gate, Qin Wentian felt that he had traversed a great distance in an instant. When his feet landed on the ground, a crashing sound rang out. That was the sound of the gigantic waves of the sea. At this moment Qin Wentian stood on a huge rock by the sea. The waves unceasingly gushed over, causing the seawater to splash on his body, soaking his robes. Turning his head back, he saw another stretch of boundless sea. As for before him, there was a majestic-looking ancient structure there. This was the gate to the sacred academy. Seems like I've arrived. In this place of truth, there's a gate that leads to the Tiandao Sacred Academy. Qin Wentian stared ahead, allowing the waves to soak his robes. After that, he lifted his feet and stepped out, moving in the direction of the gate to the Sacred Academy. A moment later, Qin Wentian arrived at the gate of the Sacred Academy. Stretching out his hands, Qin Wentian pushed open the gate of the Sacred Academy and stepped in. At this moment, a wondrous voice rang out in Qin Wentian's mind. This was the rule of the Sacred Academy. The gate of the Sacred Academy closed behind him. Qin Wentian stared ahead. Instead of saying that this place was a sacred academy, it would be more accurate to say that this place was an independent world. Qin Wentian stepped forward as though he had sensed something. A faint smile flickered in his eyes. After some time from afar, a white bolt of lightning could be seen speeding over. Not long after, a snow-white figure directly dove into Qin Wentian's embrace, slamming into Qin Wentian's chest. "Little rascal, do you want to ram me to death?" Qin Wentian rubbed Little Rascal's head as he smiled. Behind Little Rascal, a beautiful silhouette also appeared before Qin Wentian. It was none other than Purgatory. "Why are you only here now? This Baobao has already been here for so many years. Aren't you a little too weak?" Little Rascal stared at Qin Wentian with disdain in its eyes. To think that Qin Wentian was actually slower than Little Rascal by so many years. The paths of crossing the sea are different and lead to different places. Before I came here, I went to another place and only found this place after that. What about you guys? After crossing the immortal sea, did you directly come here? Qin Wentian asked. He and Little Rascal could be considered to have a telepathic connection. This was especially so for Little Rascal. The two of them were connected by a contract, but after all, they were still independent individuals. When they were separated by space, the connection between them was still very blurry. Yeah, I fell asleep in the immortal sea, drifting and floating. When I woke up, I was already here. What a comfortable sleep. Little Rascal spoke lazily, his words causing Qin Wentian to roll his eyes. Wasn't this a little too simple? Stop bragging. Purgatory scolded in a low voice. Little Purgatory, how can you say that? This Bao has always been here to protect you. Little Rascal inclined its head and spoke. Qin Wentian felt that Little Rascal was getting more and more unreliable. Purgatory, how many people are here in this sacred academy? Are there any friends I know here? Qin Wentian asked Purgatory. Quite a few people have arrived. There should be over 1,000 of them. Many of them are demons. Purgatory replied. As for friends, there's your sister Yunxi. Little Rascal interjected, his words causing Qin Wentian to roll his eyes. He directly smacked Little Rascal's head. This Little Rascal was simply asking for a beating. I didn't say anything wrong. Little Rascal mumbled, feeling a little wronged. There's also Namhuang Yunxi, Nanfeng Shunga, and a few others from the Namhuang clan. Other than them, there are also those who followed Big Brother Wentian. Purgatory spoke in a light voice. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed. The people Purgatory was referring to were naturally from the Battle Saint tribe. Also, those demons are too annoying. They would often harass Purgatory, as well as Namhuang Yunxi and the others, wanting Purgatory to help them give birth to descendants of vermilion birds. They even wanted Namhuang Yunxi to give birth to descendants with phoenix bloodlines. How shameless! Little Rascal unhappily mumbled. Qin Wentian glanced at Purgatory only to see that Purgatory's expression was somewhat cold. Qin Wentian instantly understood that there must be some demons bullying Purgatory. Many of those demons were powerful greater demons with pure-blooded bloodlines. For example, the Great Rock Race and White Tiger people were all extremely powerful. Their personalities were also tyrannical and direct. Little Rascal's words couldn't be false. Before he entered the immortal sea, he had already experienced the arrogance of those pure-blooded greater demons. Their eyes were at the top of their heads. They even dared to offend the supreme human races in the immortal realms. Let's go and look for them. Qin Wentian spoke. Who are we looking for? Little Rascal asked. Namhuang Yunxi and the others. Qin Wentian replied. Little Rascal's eyes swiveled as he smiled at Qin Wentian. Purgatory's silhouette flashed as she led the way. What is there in this sacred academy? Qin Wentian soared through the air as he asked. There are many cultivation grounds, as well as many dangerous secret grounds. Right now, Nanfeng Yunxi and the others are cultivating in an ancient mountain. There are many innate techniques and techniques of the demonic race there, and there are also powerful demonic beasts in the depths of the ancient mountain. I wonder where they came from, Little Rascal replied. This place is so vast it's like a world of its own. This isn't just a sacred academy. There are many places we haven't been to before. Understood. Qin Wentian nodded. The group of them soared through the air, and after some time, Qin Wentian saw numerous ancient mountains towering in the air. In front of these ancient mountains, there were many people standing on top of huge rocks. Qin Wentian's immortal sense gushed out. Very soon he found the location where Namhuang Yunxi was at. His silhouette flashed as the group of them flew over. Namhuang Yunxi seemed to have sensed something. Her beautiful eyes turned over and she saw Qin Wentian flying over. Her cold eyes flashed with a smile as she spoke. You have come. Qin Wentian descended and came to the side of Namhuang Yunxi. Nanfeng Shunga was here as well. She stared at Qin Wentian and smiled. Something is wrong. Why did you come so late? There isn't just a single sacred academy. From what I know, there might be a total of 4. The innate techniques used to traverse the sea are different, and one might enter a different sacred academy. Qin Wentian spoke. Before this, I went to another place and found an entrance that leads to this place. So this is the case. Nanfeng Shunga's eyes flashed with a smile. Qin Wentian stared at the mountain rampart ahead as his eyes flashed. The shadow of a phoenix could be seen on the rampart, looking extremely vivid and lifelike, as though it was about to rush out from the rampart. Not only so, the other ramparts of the ancient mountains seemed to be filled with all sorts of greater demons. This was a holy land for demonic beasts to cultivate. Did you see anything? Qin Wentian asked. Very profound. The more I comprehend the diagrams engraved here, the more unfathomable they seem. I can even faintly sense a resonance with the power of my bloodline. In fact, I'm guessing that it might even be able to stimulate my bloodline, causing it to become purer. Nanfeng Yunqi's gaze was solemn. Although she was a human cultivator, her ancestor had the Phoenix bloodline in her veins. The experts of the Southern Phoenix clan all had the power of the Phoenix bloodline in their bodies. This was especially so for the holy successor who had entered the ancestral lands. Stay away from her. At this moment, a demonic voice drifted over. Qin Wentian turned his gaze over, only to see that in front of an ancient mountain not far away from him, there was a demonic silhouette on top of a gigantic boulder. This greater demon had the mark of a king on his forehead, and was none other than an expert from the White Tiger people. He was telling Qin Wentian to stay away from Namhuang Yunqi. Chapter 11:25. Qin Wentian frowned. Seems like what little rascal said before was right. These vile beasts truly coveted Namhuang Yunqi and purgatory. Right now, they even wanted to interfere before Namhuang Yunqi. What does it have to do with you? Namhuang Yunqi coldly spoke. How can it have nothing to do with me? Our White Tiger people have countless beauties and we only play around with human beauties. However, if the holy successor of the Namhuang clan becomes my woman, I will definitely treat you well. In the future, our children might even have a pure dual bloodline. That young man from the White Tiger people spoke, his words causing many of his tribesmen to laugh. Indeed, the White Tiger people, have never tried a woman from the Namhuang clan before. The last time someone wanted to snatch a holy successor of the Namhuang clan was in the Myriad Devil Islands. However, the Namhuang clan produced a strong woman, Nanfeng Jiue, who slaughtered her way into the Myriad Devil Islands, shocking the experts of the immortal realms. Hence, there weren't many people who dared to humiliate the holy successor of the Namhuang clan. Scram! Namhuang Yunqi icily spat out. What a fiery temper! As expected of the holy successor, who has entered the ancestral lands and has a pure phoenix bloodline. The old phoenix should have allowed your phoenix bloodline to be extremely pure, right? That young man from the White Tiger people licked his lips, appearing extremely demonic, causing Namhuang Yunqi and Nanfeng Shunga to feel a wave of disgust. It's rumored that the White Tiger people are truly lustful. Nanfeng Shunga coldly spoke. Beauty, do you want to try? Another demonic beast from the White Tiger people stared at Nanfeng Shunga with an evil gaze. That gaze caused Nanfeng Shunga to feel as though she was completely naked in front of him. It was extremely disgusting. Qin Wentian's expression turned cold. These people from the White Tiger people were truly unbridled enough. Shunga, it's just a vile beast. There's no need to be angry. Qin Wentian spoke in a low voice to Nanfeng Shunga. As the sound of his voice faded, the eyes of the White Tiger turned to Qin Wentian, gleaming with sharpness. The White Tiger people great demon was actually mocked by a lowly human as an evil creature. If I were you, I would definitely kill him on the spot. From afar a sharp voice rang out. Qin Wentian, Namhuang Yunqi, and the others turned their gazes over, only to see a few other silhouettes. Their demonic auras radiated forth unabashedly. In terms of sharpness, they were superior to the White Tiger people. The demon who spoke was the demonic beast of the Tianpeng people. His eyes shone with a dazzling light, and he was obviously a proud and unruly pure-blooded demon. Roar! White Tiger opened his mouth and bellowed. Immediately, a deep but intense roar reverberated through the ancient mountain. It reverberated incessantly, causing one's eardrums to vibrate. We can't kill people here. What a pity. That White Tiger spoke in human language, yet it sounded like a low roar. Many pairs of eyes turned over as expressions of interest appeared on their faces. This was especially so when they clearly saw who Qin Wentian was. Although many years have passed, before Qin Wentian stepped into the immortal sea, his unparalleled astral souls and perfect immortal foundation had left a deep impression on them. It was just that they didn't know if his strength was as dazzling as his immortal foundation and astral souls. As a pure-blooded greater demon, would he be able to tear apart a human with a perfect saint-grade immortal foundation? Numerous silhouettes flickered. In the surroundings of the ancient mountain where Qin Wentian was at, there were many experts from the demonic races. All of them had their gazes fixed on Qin Wentian. Naturally, there were also some humans like Wu Xiu who were watching quietly. They also wanted to know how strong Qin Wentian's combat prowess was. Even if we can't kill him, it's fine to torture him, right? An expert from the Tianpeng people spoke in a lofty manner. Naturally, the young man from the White Tiger people stared at Qin Wentian. If you kneel on the ground now and prostrate yourself before me, becoming my servant, becoming my mount, I will treat everything that happened earlier as if nothing had happened, as expected of a lowly vile creature. When Nam Huang Yunxi saw the White Tiger people insulting Qin Wentian, her Nam Huang Yunxi's frosty countenance also flashed with coldness. Nam Huang Yunxi, if you are willing to give birth to a demonic cub with me in the Sacred Academy, I can forget about it. That young man from the White Tiger people spoke again when he heard Nam Huang Yunxi's words. The experts from the White Tiger people beside him were all giggling, staring at the beautiful figures of Nam Huang Yunxi and Nanfeng Shunga as they drooled with desire. Haha, do you want to give birth to a few more for us? Another young man from the White Tiger people laughed uproariously. Such humiliation caused Nam Huang Yunxi to float in the air as a fearsome aura radiated from her. A phoenix feather appeared behind her, causing the temperature of the entire space to rise abruptly. With her as the center, blazing flames could be seen in the air. Holy successor of the Nam Huang clan, I truly want to see how strong you are with your phoenix bloodline. I will do my best to tame you. An expert from the White Tiger people stepped out. This expert was the same as Nam Huang Yunxi. He was also at the second level of Immortal Foundation. The White Tiger people had the title of royalty of the demon races. Although they were lustful, extravagant, and had nothing in their eyes, there was no need to doubt their pride. Hence, they wouldn't take the initiative to send a higher-level expert from the White Tiger people to deal with Nam Huang Yunxi. Are you even qualified to fight against Holy Maiden Yunxi? I alone am sufficient to deal with you. Nanfeng Shunga's silhouette flashed as she appeared a distance away from Nam Huang Yunxi, staring at that expert from the White Tiger people. That expert from the White Tiger people glanced at Nanfeng Shunga. Upon seeing that Nanfeng Shunga was similarly beautiful and pure, akin to a poem or a painting, flames of lust were ignited in his heart. He stepped out towards Nanfeng Shunga and spoke, "If you are defeated, this young demon lord will definitely make sure you accompany me. Let me deal with Nam Huang Yunxi then." Another expert from the White Tiger people stepped out. "Just be my slave mount." A third-level Immortal Foundation expert from the White Tiger people stepped out, staring at Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian stared at these demons from the White Tiger people, as he silently mused at the purity of their bloodlines. There were actually so many demons who managed to enter the Sacred Academy. Although he loathed this race, he had to admit that the talent of this race was extraordinary. This was the innate superiority of some powerful demonic races. They were born to be kings. With a flash of his silhouette, Qin Wentian appeared in a certain direction as he floated in the air. Although the White Tiger people were born to be kings, he wanted to let these fellows feel the word humiliation today. Rumble. Over at Nam Huang Yunxi's side, blazing flames towered up into the sky. The shadow of the phoenix enveloped Nam Huang Yunxi as a battle instantly erupted. Nanfeng Shunga was also fighting against her opponent. In an instant, the entire space trembled violently as killing intent engulfed everything. Lowly human. Even if I can't kill you, I will make you my slave. The king character in the center of the brows of the White Tiger people expert in front of Qin Wentian radiated a terrifying aura. A moment later, the might of a king circulated around him, tyrannical to the extreme. That pure bloodline of the royal bloodline of the demonic races was extremely terrifying, as his baleful qi towered up into the sky. Bzz. A resplendent light radiated from Qin Wentian as runic light circulated around him. His ordinary human physique at this moment was akin to that of a fiend god, giving off an extraordinary feeling. Upon seeing this scene, The white tiger people expert abruptly opened his mouth and roared, roar. His roar shook the heavens as baleful chi engulfed everything. An incomparably gigantic white tiger appeared in the air as a tyrannical demonic phoenix, ravaged this entire space. Numerous white tiger shadows manifested, directly aiming for Qin Wentian's body. The white tiger didn't move. With a loud roar, the power of its attack arrived, aiming for Qin Wentian. If it was an ordinary human, they would be instantly killed under the might of this attack. Qin Wentian could feel the overwhelming killing intent. His lips moved as he spat out a single word, suppress. Just as the word faded from his mouth, a dazzling light flashed from his body. A strong light bloomed as Qin Wentian's body emanated an extremely tyrannical suppressive force. At the same time, a gigantic ancient word was unleashed, blasting at the white tiger shadow. Between the two of them, the terrifying collision resulted in a violent turbulence. The white tiger's killing intent was unable to do anything to Qin Wentian, and was even destroyed by a single word. This scene caused the eyes of the white tiger people experts to flash as they stared at the battlefield. By spitting out a single word, the white tiger's roar had been neutralized. The single word Qin Wentian spat out seemed to contain a miraculous and infinite power. Its might was astonishing, especially to the white tiger youth who was facing Qin Wentian. When Qin Wentian spat out the ancient word, he felt a Sanskrit sound seep into his eardrums, as though a powerful invisible suppressive force had landed on his body. Roar! The white tiger people youth roared once more as he stretched out his palms. An incomparably gigantic white tiger baleful god lunged forth, directly grabbing towards Qin Wentian. The baleful chi from the white tiger could affect one's state of mind. There was no way for Qin Wentian to escape. Destroy! Qin Wentian spat out another word, transforming it into the power of mantra. As the sound of this word faded, even the heavens and earth seemed to tremble. A terrifying destructive force was born between the heavens and earth, directly destroying the white tiger baleful god. Qin Wentian's body was enveloped in a multicolored light, causing the gazes of the experts present to freeze as they stared fixedly at him. Although the white tiger people youth didn't move his body when he attacked, he had, after all, used an offensive technique. On the other hand, Qin Wentian stood with his hands clasped behind his back, not moving at all. He merely spat out a single word, and that was enough to neutralize the powerful attack. Such a weak attack? Is this the capital you have to be so conceited? As expected of the lowly white tiger people, Qin Wentian mocked. His body was akin to a divine body as he stepped out, appearing in front of the white tiger people and punched out with his fist. That white tiger people roared in rage. Qin Wentian, a lowly human, actually dared to humiliate him like this? Not only that, he even wanted to clash head-on with him. He, the white tiger people, was a royal member of the demon race, a race of baleful gods. Their killing prowess was heaven-shaking, and their attacks were terrifying. Other than the other royal members of the demon race, who would dare to clash head-on with them? He roared in rage as the bones in his body emitted cracking sounds. His arm blasted out, transforming into the body of a white tiger at the same time. Baleful chi enveloped the heavens and earth, clashing together with Qin Wentian. Boom! An earth-shattering explosion rang out, causing the void to tremble. That white tiger people youth let out a blood-curdling scream. His body seemed to be on the verge of shattering. The bones in his arms were shattered, and fresh blood seeped out. His body that had transformed into a white tiger was sent flying, and his entire body was covered in blood. It was as though his body was about to explode from Qin Wentian's punch. The white tiger people's experts stepped forward at the same time. Terrifying thumping sounds rang out, and for a moment, baleful chi filled the air. Qin Wentian's body didn't move at all. He stood in the void, looking down at the injured white tiger, and coldly said, "Can't even withstand a single blow, and can be destroyed with a raise of my hand. Is this what you, the white tiger people, are proud of?"